source of this information, SASSA allegedly shelled out 500,000 rand on a venue and 1 million on gifts for their International Women's Day event on the 28th of March 2023. The DA will follow this up to determine why an agency who regularly fails to reliably deliver services to the country's poorest and most vulnerable citizens, and whose offices are understaffed and under-resourced, would waste crucial funds this way. Last year, the DA revealed that only 4 out of 212 SASSA offices, which were contacted nationwide, answered their telephones. The oversight revealed shocking working environments and regular system crashes that force grant beneficiaries to make multiple journeys to and fro these offices. The Minister of Social Development, Honorable Lindiwe Zulu, further confirmed this in an answer to a DA parliamentary question, in which she revealed that in the past year, a total of 435 and 175 SASSA offices experienced system and telephone problems, respectively. The problems were due to basic accounting system, social security pension system, and the biometric identification system challenges and electrical and network outages. The proper utilization of 1.5 million could have gone a long way towards improving the challenges and failures within the social development sector in the Free State. With the continuous rising cost of living, the payment days are more than just an inconvenience. They are hastening the death and destroying the hope of millions by eating into what little poor and vulnerable people have to spend on food and other necessities. It is unfortunate that the poor economic outlook of the province and the resultant shrinking tax base means that government will have less and less money to help the department. But the arrogance of the governing party continues to entrench the suffering of the Free State residents. Experience has taught me that most people don't want handouts. Most people want the dignity that comes with having employment and being able to provide for their families. The most unfortunate reality, though, is that the province is slipping further away providing this each day, and more people are becoming dependent on social grants. Fortunately, the Free State province is filled with people who are eager to assist in the areas where sometimes government does not have the capacity to reach. But in many cases, their efforts are futile, especially when this department continues to turn a blind eye on the harsh realization of the ground experienced by our people. But I thought I would start by looking at the department's performance for the programs implemented in 2022-2023. Under the program for children and families, the department has an achievement rate of an eye-watering 38%. Madam Speaker, in university terms, this represents a fail. This is simply not good enough. However, it gets worse. The department failed to achieve its target in the in the number of department performance reviews convened. It failed to achieve its target regarding risk management committees meetings convened. The department failed regarding the number of disciplinary cases finalized within the prescribed time frame, and also failed regarding the number of district quarterly performance review sessions held. Madam Speaker, may I remind you that these are not targets set out by opposition parties. These are the department's own targets which they still cannot fulfill. The department underachievement is far from what it should be. One, this department underachieved in its own target of reuniting families. Two, it underachieved in its own target of children accessing registered ECD programs, although this has now been moved to the Department of Education. It is underachieved in its target of subsidizing ECDs through the conditional grants, and it again underachieved in providing care and protection of children in child and youth care centers. It is clear this department is a total failure. Mekoloi, this needs to be attended to. These are just some examples of how a great initiative with funding already secured and which has the potential to improve the lives of people in the community falls flat on the face of the ANC government. I regard this as a ticking time bomb ready to explode at any moment. Madam Speaker, the Free State is a youthful province, yet most of our youth are unemployed, on the streets joining gangs, and involved with drug peddlers. More needs to be done for the future of this province. Our youth are often the most vulnerable individuals in our society. Our youth in the province shows unmatched promise, but the ANC government continuously fails them by not fighting unemployment, by not offering effective programs that promote our youth and their skills. And they are failing our youth by adding to the ill that corruption and cadre deployment. This department has trodden on the loyalty of your supporters to advance your interests. You neglect the most vulnerable and continue to walk to the sound of trumpets as if you have accomplished something. The DA believes that opportunity is the vehicle through which all South Africans can be empowered to live lives that they value, to pursue their dreams, and to develop their full potential. This belief lies at the core of our vision of an open and equal opportunity society for all. Let us look at the backlog in this department. Madam Speaker, it is reported, scientifically so, that clients awaiting assessment in the Free State is a whopping 2,212 people. The number of the TDGs as well is a very huge number. The picture does not look good at all. The following is another example that the department is struggling with. When it comes to the disability grant backlog, those that needed to be assessed, the number is also not small. It comes to 2,212, those who are awaiting assessment. Speaker, it may be necessary at this stage to look at what the Auditor General has to say regarding the department. Program number 1 of administration, the AG says the program has an over expenditure of 11.130 million, compensation of employees, goods and services. Program 2, social welfare services. The program had an underspending of 6.870 million, underspending. Program 3, children and families. The program underspent with 24.205 million. However, the economic classifications of employees and households overspent. You see, in those areas where they're supposed to be spending a lot, they are underspending. Program number 3, children and families. The program underspent with 24.205 million. However, the economic classification of employment and household overspent. Program 4, restorative services. The program underspent with 4.48 million. However, the economic classification of employees and households overspent. Program 5, development and research. The program underspent with 1.340 million. However, the economic classification of employees and households overspent. The AG completes her report by saying, I quote, effective oversight and consequence management is needed to improve accountability for a sustainable impact on service delivery, unquote. Speaker, one shudders when thinking of the state of our social services in the Free State. A simple example would be the total collapse of post offices service, a service that is utilized by the department to distribute vulnerable individuals' grants. The ANC government is in it to fill their pockets and leave the citizens of this province with the scraps. It has never been more evident that change is needed in this province and for our people. On the basis of the above provided information, Madam Speaker, and evidence that the DA has gathered, the DA cannot and will not support this budget because
Honorable members, order please.
Mafapheng a mangata tjhelete ha ya ka ya sebediswa ho ya ka mokgwa ho neng ho reruwe ka teng. Ba entse underspend. Ha ya sebetsa ho latela maqheka a neng a beuwe fatshe. This in itself means the planning that was done does not correlate with the practice on the ground. Ka tsela eo bahaiso, Democratic Alliance ha e iphumane e ka supporta budget ena ha e le mona ho bonahala tjhelete eo ho neng ho budgetilwe ka yona e sa sebediswa kaofela ha yona. Ke a o leboha motsamaisi.
Thank you, Tatelu Tuka. Honorable MEC Mahlatsi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier, the Chief Whip of the Majority Party, the African National Congress, honorable members, people of the Free State, Dumelang batho ba Mqhaka. Madam Speaker, ne ke tla qala dipuisano tsa kasheko ka hore ya potangwetse. Empa ke tlo qala moo. Madam Speaker, in recognition of the Freedom Month, let me briefly reflect with the following quote by Nkosi Chief Albert Tuli as the President of the African National Congress in 1954, when he said to the freedom fighters, I quote, "Throughout history, no freedom has come to any people without blood and sweat and tears. Africans cannot be an exception to this divine test, but take courage in the knowledge that no matter how dark the future may seem, right must triumph over wrong, and also remember that no nation or national movement has ever failed, close quote. As we celebrate the fruits of the selfless struggle during this Freedom Month, we need to recall that Africa is the initiator of civilization and that men and women of the world used to come to Africa to learn about the matters of the world, including, amongst others, the Greek philosophers. When it comes to deepening democracy, human dignity, and equality, we said in the Reconstruction and Development Program that our people, with their aspirations and collective determination, are our most important resource. In linking democracy, development, human rights, and people-centered approach, we are paving a way for a new democratic order. The thoroughgoing democratization of our society that must transform both the state and civil society is therefore an active process enabling everybody to contribute. For the ANC, the social transformation agenda is part of the continuing journey to social change that started in the form of RDP. At the center of RDP is a call for change and a systematic and socially just path to fully reconstructed, transformed, and unified society. Our approach to the overall social transformation and development is echoed on the concerted struggle against the triple challenges of poverty, inequality, and unemployment that has fragmented our society both socially and economically. The above-mentioned triple challenges have brought about many social issues such as the scourge of gender-based violence and femicide, substance abuse protection and of vulnerable groups such as children and LGBTQI+ community. Our primary focus is therefore prioritizing the rights of women, youth, children, people with disability, marginalized groups, as well as previously disadvantaged people. We aim to work tirelessly in reducing discrimination and violence against all women and children and foster gender equality in every level of society. On opportunities for youth, Madam Speaker, investing in the youth is paramount. The ANC-led government carries the important responsibility to provide support mechanism to the youth to unlock their potential. The most practical and sustainable strategy, removing youth from alcohol and drugs, is the provision of social amenities, education, and job creation. We are therefore pleased by the decision to absorb 63 social workers graduates in addition to the previous cohort of 92. We are also conscious of the fact that government, and by extension the Department of Social Development, cannot possibly resolve the issues affecting our youth on its own. Hence, it is important to rope in other social partners to assist with students who are academically qualified to enter the job market but cannot find job or cannot find work. We applaud the department's continued efforts which are dedicated towards youth mainstreaming. In terms of services to persons with disability, Madam Speaker, the ANC at its successive national conference resolved that government departments should ensure that 2% of their labor force comprise of the employment of people with disability, to ensure that the public buildings are user-friendly to people with disability, including the frequent use of sign languages and braille for those affected. We have over time assured that the state is biased towards disadvantaged and marginalized groups. To this end, we are pleased with the departments having exceeded the norm of 2% and achieving 5%. Tate Matuka ke nahana ke a hopola hore o mametse monana hore lefapha lena le entse bonnete ba hore le bypassa 2% e government e beileng hore re etse bonnete hore batho ba rona ba phelang ka boqhwala ba hirwe ka ga lefapha lena ba se ba le ho 5%. To support the support provided towards the economic development and people living with disability who own businesses by prioritizing their companies in the procurement of goods and services. It is critical, important that we pursue the two goals of social transformation and economic growth and development simultaneously, in such a way or in such a manner that they are mutually reinforced, more especially where the social groups is concerned. On social services, especially to children, Madam Speaker, our focus on children is on their protection, care, support, promotion of rights of children and development. Through the allocation of 291.755 million, we are confident that the 16 days of activism of no violence against women and children will be extended to make it 365 days program, noting the rising challenges against women and children. This is over and above the program on children that the Department of Social Development and its stakeholders run. Honorable Speaker, as outlined in the introductory remarks on the social transformation program, the issue of substance abuse cannot be left unattended. We applaud the strides made in the fight against substance abuse, which takes away the future and destroys families, and more severely takes away the direct beneficiaries of our nation or of our NDR, our citizens, those whom we require to partake in our developmental goals as a country. On issues affecting women empowerment, Madam Speaker, the strategy and tactics of the African National Congress recognize that amongst the primary contradictions which the NDR must resolve are the legacies of apartheid colonialism, super exploitation and patriarchy. Women are therefore counted amongst the motive forces necessary for the development of the NDR. To this end, we are pleased with the increased support of SMM East Township and village economies and cooperatives managed by women. Jwalo ka mme Matha a buile pele, o buile a re, di cooperatives tsa rona di tlamehile di etse bonnete ba hore di leadwa ke bomme le bomme ba una molemo haholo ho tsona. As a gender activist myself, it would be grave mistake to reflect or not to reflect on the need to champion the rollout and implementation of the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence, which speaks to empowerment programs for victims and survivors of gender-based violence, as well as other forms of society interventions, which include rehabilitation and any other treatment that will prevent perpetrators of gender-based violence to commit these heinous crimes. Honorable Speaker, the success of a social transformation project will heavily rely on the work with local, provincial, and national civil society organizations, community-based and faith-based organizations, including business. The department should continue to applaud these principles and implement it to the latter. With these words, Madam Speaker, I adopt the budget for budget vote social development. But, Honorable Speaker, pele ke theoha sefaleng sena so nkadimileng sona, Honorable Speaker, for the first time in a budget vote, that FF Plus to a large extent agrees with us. And we must applaud the FF Plus for that particular posture. Because hantle bana ba kankri, mihlena le mihlena re palama sefala sena, ba dula ba hanana le rona ka ntho engwe le nngwe. Mare ka sheko lena ra leboha ntate Tlute o sa tswile hore wa dumela hore budget ena e tlamele e thuse setjhaba ebile ha re tla o tabeng tsena tsa gender based violence ha da tlamela ho kgetha mmala ha da tlamela ho kgetha gender mme re tlamela re tshwarane ka matso hore tsa bonnete ba hore sebetsa kaofela hore re qete ka taba ena ya gender based violence. Mo ke sa dumalaneng le wena ntate Tlute ke hore tlala ha e kgethe mmala, tlala e kgetha mmala. Batho ba rona ba sotleile ka nako e telele ba sena mesebetsi ebile lona ba kankri le tseba hantle hore ha le fihla mona 1652 le thotse re na le lefatshe mme lefatshe ke moruo wa setjhaba ebile le linkile la lutho ha re le khutlisetse ho setjhaba sa rona le ya ka ona le kwana ebile le dumelana le EFF ho ya ka ditaba tsa rona tsa National Parliament hore moruo wa lefatshe o ska khutlela batho hobane le vote le bona hore rona re ska ga fa batho ba rona ba lefatshe. ha re fitla ho ntate Letuka wa tseba ntate Letuka mona na re tlile go tlo bua ka programa ya lefapha ya 2023-2024 re shebetse pele program o tlang ka yona ke ya selemo sa ditšhelete se fetileng ebile mme Tshidikoloi ha palama sefala mona o hlalositse hore e khotjwa le maoto a mane re bile le mathata mme re ya pele lefapha lena la social development ba ai ba Moqhaka selemong sa fetileng sa ditšhelete se movile from an qualified audit outcome, which is an outcome that does not look very good, but to a better audit outcome, which is an unqualified audit outcome. Jwale ntate Letuka ha ntse re shebisana monana ko kopa re di shebe hantle taba tsena tsa di annual report, because taba tso tlileng ka tsona monana ke tse nka be re disitse committee ra bua ka tsona mona re tlo bua ka budget vote ya 2023-2024. Lefapha la social development ba ai ba Moqhaka ke lona lefapha fela ka ra mafatha mangata re na lona a 10 ka tlasa boetapele ba ntate Dukwana bo ileng hore bona le directorate ya youth development. Jwale ha re tlo bua ka mathata le maima a ileng hore a shebane le batjha lefapha le ikemiseditse ho etsa bonnete ba hore le sebetsa le mafapha a mang ho etsa bonnete ba hore re qeta bofuma ka ra province. Ntate Letuka o lebetse le ho hlalosa hore ka ra programa ena MEC a ibeileng pela batho ba Moqhaka le batho ba Afrika Borwa le batho ba Free State hore lefapha la social development managementeng wa ona out of 100% ya management 60% ke bomme. Jwale ha re bua ka women empowerment ha re bua women empowerment fela e ka re ra ipopulate re bua ka ntho tse re dientseng ha ba tloa fela bana ba DA ha ba fihla mona ba tlo re jwetsa ka cadre development or cadre empowerment. Setjhaba sa Moqhaka ke kopa le kana kongwe le shebe parlamenteng man hore DA jwalo ka mokgatlo o reng o emela setjhaba ha o ka sheba parlamente ha ba dutsi ba felletse mono o bo sheka dipalopalo tsa batho ba ka mo hore ke ba bakae ba mmala ke ba bakae ba batho ba batsho ha be ne ba batla ho bua ka cadre development o lo sheba di masipaleng tse ba leng ho tsona hore ke bo mang ba ileng hore ba sebetsa ka ra di masipala tseno tse ileng hore di etelletswe pele ke bona. Re bue ka hore ha ba fihla ditabeng tsena tsa cadre development ha hona mmuso o ka reng ha o kena taolong ebe o re batho ba tshwereng maemo a hodimo e tla ba batho ba leng ha bana ba le kutlwisiso e tshwanang le ya batho ba ileng hore ba tlameile ba tsamaise mmuso o empa Real African National Congress.
Honorable members, I read you the two important rules that govern this house, and you are continuing exactly with what I spoke against. So please, respect your house. This is your house, you must respect it.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for protecting me. Merere, watseba, kana kwengwe, Honorable Jackelson, ki batla ho sheba fela ka monana. Kana go nngwe no sa lebella kana go hore ho tla ba le motsamaisi wa dipuisano wa mmala o mong o sa tshwanelle wa hao le moetapele o tshwereng o sa tshwarang mokobobo but a tshwereng a leadang ka ra province a sa tshwanelle mmala wa hao. O no sa nahana ka le leng la matsatsi o tla ema e mongwe ya tswang ka ra Congress movement a le dilemong tse nyanyana hona le tsa hao ha re hlomphaneng ha re le ka ra motse onana ha re hlomphaneng ke ra kopa motsamaisi wa dipuisano ha ke tlo qetela ke batla hore ho ntate Letuka kana kongwe ho bohlokwa hore re dumellane hore African National Congress ke mokgatlo wa batho. Social development is a very critical department in terms of making sure that the lives of our people is improved. And at some point, we must appreciate the fact that mo ileng hore re ntse hantle jwalo ka Honorable Klute a buile. Ha o hlokahale hore o tle monana o tlo raise di issues tse leng hore ka nnete ha di na molemo in ho ntshetsa pele maemo a boemo ba baahi ba moqhaka. Ka nako engwe ho bohlokwa hore ha re tlasefale mona re tle re tlo kopana maboko re tlo shebisana hore batho bana ba dutseng ka mona re tsamaisana jwang tsela ena e boima e leng hore ha ba iketse ba re kene ka ra maemo ana re sa ikemisetsa ke nnete batho ba rona ba na mesebetsi ke nnete batho ba rona ba hloka mesebetsi ke nnete hona di tshebeletso tse sentse re tlamele re di etse di phethahale. But we live better than when we are here in 1994. Our people are living a better, our people have got houses. Our people have running water. African National Congress, jwalo ka mokgatlo wa batho e etsa bonnete ha ngwana a hlaya o hlala ka ra sepetlele se leng hore se eme ka maemong a lokileng. Etsa bonnete ba ha tswa mo o kena ka ra sekolo mo leng hore mokgatlo wa African National Congress o etsa bonnete ba hore ngwana o thola dijo sekolong. Mokgatlo wa African National Congress o ye pele o re ha ngwana a ya university o mo patale NSFAS. Mokgatlo wa African National Congress o etsa bonnete ba hore maphelo a rona a be betere hona le ka mokgwa a na le teng ka 1994. Empa ha re tla mona re tlamele re kopaneng re le di political parties tse different. Re ska tlo grandstand mona on issues that are not taking our people forward. Ours to make sure that Bontate Mandela, jwalo ka ile batho ba re lwanetseng ba lwanetseng tokoloho re tse bonnete their legacy live for the better. E se re tle monana re tlo tla re bontshana hore re tseba betere ho le hokae empa re tlamele re tle mona re tlo shebisana hore ana re bopa setjhaba sa rona sa Afrika re le maAfrika re ya pele jwang. Ho tloa ka tsatsing lena ke batla ho tsebisa setjhaba sa moqhaka hore African National Congress e etsa ka mokgwa e tlamele e etse ka teng hona le bobodu empa ha se bobodu bo ileng hore bo etsa ke African National Congress. Corruption is not done by ANC, but it's done by individuals. And this ANC government is continuing with its project to make each and everybody accountable. Re bone ka issue ya asbestos. Batho ba rona ba hlahela dikhoto hobane re tseba hore hona le maima le mathata. Empa re African National Congress is going to hold each and every individual accountable. We are not going to leave any stone unturned. Mo ho etsaetseng bobodu re tlo etsa bonnete ba hore batho ba rona ba accountable, but sa bohlokwa ko etsa bonnete ba hore as we marshal forward, we move with our people, and we will say ANC will lead, ANC will continue to lead, even in 2024 will continue to lead. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. Honorable members, respect your own rules. I spoke to members of the public, and the members of the public understood. But you, the custodians of these rules that we are having here, you refuse to respect them. You make it difficult for me to hear. The next thing, when you raise point of orders, I won't be able to make a ruling because I cannot hear, because you are busy responding while the speaker is on the podium. And I told you very clear this morning that in terms of Rule 84 and 86 of your very own standing rules and orders of this House, you are not supposed to do that. You are making it difficult for the presiding officer. The Honorable MEC may now reply to the debates.
Ke a leboha motsamaisi wa dipuisano. E re ke qala fela ke re hona le ntho tse phoqang. Motho a tle mona a tlo phoqa. Ene ke tla qala ka Honorable Letuka. Honorable Tuka o bua ka taba ya hore job creation, high rate of unemployment. E leng hore le rona ra dumela. All of us sitting here, ha ona motho a disagreeang hore hona le high rate of unemployment. Batjha ba rona are faced with high rate of unemployment. Mare ore speaker ke ka baka la ANC. And how hantle ha motho a moholo a sa bue dinnete kaofela. And ke tla mo qolla ke be ke mo hopotse ntate Letuka jwalo ka ha sa tloletse ka o DA ana le ka mona ba jampatla ka mona and a tseba maemo a motho a motsho gona motho a motsho o tswa kae. And ke batla ho bua ke re ho tlhokeho ya mosebetsi le di substance abuse ha ke kopanya higher rate of unemployment ke kopanya le taba ya di substance abuse GBVF e leng hore e phahame bana ba e leng hore ba hlekefetswa sesosa ke eng tate Letuka ha re ka ra hopotsanang hantle history ya rona jwalo ka maAfrika bana ba tharientse rona re tswa kae. Our families were disintegrated mo e leng hore batswadi ba rona at the end of the day o na tla tloha mo a tsamaye a lo batlana le mosebetsi Gauteng a sie bana le motswadi wa bona le mme e baka eng ho ntate a fihla Gauteng is expected hore a patale rent ma leng teng ntate a patale mme le bana hape rent mo ba dulang teng hobane of course at that particular time matlo ne re dula ona ene se a rona ne re fuwe dibuka tsena tse kgolo tse kana tsona ho thuki di lodgers ho etsahalang ka motswadi ka nako o ba le stress se sengata ha ba le stress o qetaletsa a kene dithethefatsing a kene taying at the end of the day the very same parent o affecta the entire family le bana ba ba affected at the end of the day ha o kena mane maplasing till to date ke phepetsang honorable Saki Mokoena hore o ko kene ka ga maplasi sitting here batho ba rona ka ga maplasi hoseng ka 5 o'clock they are expected hore ba ye mosebetsing ha letsatsi le dikela ha ba so chaise bosiu ka bo 11 10 o'clock trekere ntse duma ka ga maplasi ba sebetsa Monday to Monday ha bana di leave ha bana di off la ba khola ha bana le salary advice ba khola ka buka ho ngolwa bukeng hona mokholong wa bona hape ba qeta ba qala bona bana ba basou bana e be qetelong motho wa batswadi ba rona ha ba khole next ho hula mokotla wa phofo ho thoke mokotla wa phofo ha ba qeta mono ba hula motlakase ba ha ba qeta ba hula metsi o lebelletse hore batswadi ba rona ba dula maplasing ba dula ka tlasa di conditions tse jwalo ha ba no iphumana ba kene ka tshebedisong ya tahi ba kene ka ga di drugs bana ba bona le bona o lebelletse go qetellong ba tla performa hantle le dikolong the answer is no ha ba qeta bona bana ba basweu ba evicta batho ba rona maplasing ha ba qeta ba ba amwa le dikgomo tsa bona tse ba nang le tsona ba re you are not supposed to have this number ya dikgomo se o na le tsona o lebelletse eng o amuwa leruo la hao o tlosa lefatsheng le bona ba o fumaneng o dutse ho lona ha ba qeta ba re that is may pass land here di wena o tswe o lebelletse eng. Now some of the challenges tse teng hona jwale tsa body substance abuse domestic violence tse re di bona is not only about African National Congress high create mosebetsi they contributed severely bona banana ba DA kara South Africa in general ha ba qeta ba re tsamaye re ye Cape Town re lo bona mo bona ba governance teng le bua ka Camps Bay kapa le bua ka Khayelitsha kapa le bua ka Langa mo e leng hore di drugs bana ba rona ba batho ba batho ba sebedisa di drugs ha le re next ka bona lona ha le bua ka Cape Town le bua ka Camps Bay mo le dulang di beaching mo le dulang ha monate ke kopa ke tswele pele ka yona taba ena e ba e buang hore social development ha yetse nix. There are so many footprints, so many successes, so many achievements so department di dintse na konya pele bana ba rona bana ba sa isu di secure center re ne re tseba bana ba rona how to ba tlotse molao ba iswa state school seo sa bona seo ha bana ba rona ba khutla state school ba khutla ba le west empa rona monana ka di secure center sa rona bana ba rona re ba fa di skills bana ba rona re ba fa di psychosocial support hore ha ba tswa mono ha ba khutla ele better people ba kgone ho confronta di-challenges tse ba tlo kopana le tsona. Bona ka state school ba ne ba etsang ba destroyile bana ba rona ha ba qeta ba tlo re social development ha e etse mosebetsi. E re ke hlalose ke re all the institutions tseo di bonang ka hara Free State, ya secure center, disability centers, rehabilitation centers, we have a story to tell. Ha ke sa mohlala e re ke le boleleng batswadi ba ka le se ke be la tlo misleadwa ke hore social development ha e sebetse. Re na le Mr. Simqina e leng hore o na le lerato hona mane mo bana ba rona ba dikgutsaneng mo bana ba dulang teng. Today is being appointed Kara lefapha la social development ke manager mo. Re na le Mr. Mosala e leng hore le yena o tswa lerato dikgutsaneng. Ke batla le tsebe hore ha ba le mo re ba kenya sekolo bane o kekebe wa ba appointed o sena di-qualifications. Di-qualifications tseo e le hore ba di nkile kae ho bolela hore di-center tsa rona re sa bana ba rona dikolong. Re na le Mr. Mosala today kwane o appointuwe hona ka hara social development ke youth care official ka hara social development. Re na le Mr. Dlamini a tswang hape kae hona leratong mo e leng hore qetellong re mo isitse sekolong ha re fetole dikgutsaneng state school re empowera bana ba rona re a ba capacitate. Mr. Dlamini, as we speak today, Mr. Dlamini kwane ke engineer o sebetsa di-mining Kara social development. Re na le Karabo Nkoi ha re bua le lona hona jwale ke student Peninsula, University of Peninsula. Re na le Lehlohonolo Mofokeng as we speak today ke teacher. Re na le Kelello Monare today ke water technician. Gaue Mopedi today ke chemical engineer. Ke menyabiketso ya social development ha re tsebe di state school ke eng. Ha re bua le lona hona jwale today re na le Mmehlangwane o teng hona mona Kara rona o dutse le rona today o tswa hona mona Kronstadt mo e leng hore rona re fana ka psychosocial support. Re na le di-victim empowerment centers mo e leng hore bohle ba hlekefeditsweng at the end of the day ba fumantshwa kotliso ya maikutlo le hore ba kgone ho ikemela ba confronte maemo ao ba kopaneng le ona. Mme Hlangwane ha re bua tjena o teng o la ba abused for 16 years ke monna, but today ka the support ya social development o kgone ho ikemela ebile o divorce yena monna o e sala mo hlekefetsa. Ha ke tswela pele ke batla ho thusa ntate Letuka a re department e underspendile last year ka bana e go go thusa bana nna le wena luckily ntate Letuka re matitjhere ha o bua ka bana go utlwisisa hantle gona ho bua ka eng. The underspending ya bana ka program ya bana batswadi ba ka ke batla ho correct bana ha ba isitswe ko rehabilitation center kapa bana mohlomong ha ba tswa Matete. Remember hore ke bana ba ile hore ba tlotse molao ba la ba ya Matete mohlomong kapa ke bana ba ne ba ile Charlotte Maqeki mo e leng hore re ne re ba thusa ka rehabilitation ka nakong ha ba khutla mo batswadi ba bona ha ba batlo ba amohela ka nako ba khutla motswadi hore ngwana ona mare ha tla mona e le hore o tswa kono ke ntse ke sena tshepo ye. It's a process e leng hore re tlameha re kopanye ngwana le motswadi wa hae ka nako eo nako le yona ya spending e etsang e ntse tsamaya. The same applies ho ona a mona kae a tswang Matete. Ene ke rata go holona batswadi ba ka ha re tle monana ha le bua ka job creation the CNDCs mosebetsi wa di-CNDCs ha se soup kitchen jwalo ka batho ba bangata ba nana hore ke di-soup kitchen. CNDCs re fa batho ba rona dijo mare re ha go fe tlhapi fela go thusa le rona tlhapi e tshwarwa jwang. We then empower them hore ba kgone hore ba etse ba develop their own programs. Re na le motjhamane Virginia today o rekisa pizza ba etsa ka hore ke kasi pizza ka program ya di-CNDCs o kena mona le jolo putswa. Re na le bomme ka program ya di-CNDCs they had managed to establish their own corporation and ke qetelle ka hore a social ill behavior is not social development alone issue, it's a societal issue. Ho bolela hore e re batla kaofela including le opposition.
Thank you.
Ke rata ho leboha le Joloputswa district ka the excellent performance Ntate Khalipa, le performing
Thank you,
hantle ka
Honourable
GBF,
MEC.
ke a leboha.
The reply by Honourable MEC concludes the debates on vote 7, social development. We now proceed to motion 2. The Secretary shall read the motion.
That the second reading debate on the appropriation bill number 2 of 2023 be continued with vote 3, economic, small business development, tourism and environmental affairs.
Honourable members, the vote before the House is vote 3, economic, small business development, tourism and environmental affairs. The Honourable MEC, Mr. Meko, may now address the House.
Tsamaiso wa dipuisano, Premier wa Freistata, colleagues in the executive, Bomajoro ba rona, Marena a Khabane, heads of the departments, organized business formations, business owners, investors from our country and internationally. I've seen some. Most importantly, our SMMEs. Madam Speaker, our policy statement for this financial year, more than anything, is a framework for reference so that provincial government takes certain decisions differently owing to the economic conditions. But quite importantly, for our people in this province to be able to take decisions. Madam Speaker, the budget vote speech will be premised on an important relationship between economic development and social justice. It is our strong view that it is impossible to speak of morality without premising it on economic and social justice. To justify our point, we want to quote one scholar, a German philosopher, a political economist, Dr. Karl Marx, when he popularized the slogan, from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. This slogan seeks to advocate for a society where social policy is based on free access and the distribution of goods and services, and quite importantly, capital. It is a type of society that is envisioned in the ethos of our historical document, the Freedom Charter, which calls for, amongst others, the people shall share in the country's wealth, the land shall be shared among those who work it, there shall be work and security. Until such time that we deliver the type of society mentioned above, we must all be engaged in a program for fundamental change. The achievement of democracy provided South Africans with the opportunity to pursue economic growth, development, and redistribution. Yet we are only at the beginning of an historic transformation of the South African economy, a transformation which aims to realize our vision of the economic base of the National Democratic Society. The approach of the department on the economy is informed by the understanding that economic activity is not for its own sake. We're contending that the economy is not a mysterious system existing outside of society, but one which serves society. The economic trajectory of the province must be informed by the collective effort all of us participating. That's why it is key to mobilize social partners around economic growth and development in the context of the character of our country, which is the mixed economy. Madam Speaker, we tabled this budget vote during a very historic month in the history of our liberation struggle. 10 April and 24 April, respectively, in 1993, we lost two important giants of our liberation struggle. President Howard Tambo, the Chief of Staff, Christopher Hani, whose brutal assassination culminated culminated in a democratic breakthrough of 27 April 1994. These exemplary lives taught us to serve our people selflessly without any expectations of material benefits. The freedom we enjoy today was ushered as a new dawn, and many couldn't suppress their emotions as we were reminded of the terrible past from which we come as a nation, the great possibilities that we now have, and the bright future that beckons us. And so, we ululated to mark a historical day in the life of our nation, and quite importantly, renewing our common loyalty to its future. For 29 years, the ANC economic policy interventions have moved South Africa decisively towards a more inclusive society, as millions of our people have been brought into the mainstream of the economy. This process is ongoing. Much further work is required to improve the lives of the millions for our people who continue to live in poverty and despair. The most effective way to overcome these challenges is to move our economy into a new growth path of inclusive growth and employment creation, as the State of the Province Address has instructed. It is through changing the structure of the South African economy that inclusive growth will become possible. Inclusive growth cannot occur if those who are excluded are not given fair access to economic opportunities. To be truly inclusive, economic growth requires structural change. I want to overemphasize that particular one. Henceforth, the task of influencing economic growth and development must be anchored on an aggressive approach to decisively resolve the three interrelated challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. Democratic breakthrough want to have a meaning, especially to the vanguard of the South African struggle, as those who stand to benefit from its victory, and of course those who participate towards the deliverance of that victory. And these are Africans in particular, and black people in general. These are lessons derived from history, not our fabrication. Madam Speaker, on the state of the Free State economy, just in brief. Over a period of 10 years between 2011 and 2021, Free State economy grew at an average rate of a mere 0.46%. In the same period, Free State contributed 4.9% to the South African GDP, which was a decrease from 5.1% in 2011. It is expected that the province's economy will grow at an annual average rate of 1.5% to 2026, and will still contribute 4.9% to the country's GDP. Growth in the province GDP will mean an increase in the ability of the economy to create employment. And that's why it is important that we've got to make this point. In 2022, Gauteng contributed 35% to the national GDP. KZN 16%, Western Cape 14%, Mpumalanga 8%, Eastern Cape 8%, Limpopo 7%, Northwest 6%, Free State 5%, and Northern Cape 2%. In the province, the community sector was the largest within the Free State economy, accounting for 27% of the total gross value added. It was followed by finance at 20%, trade sector 12.5%, manufacturing and mining combined around 10%. That's why our argument that mine is becoming a sunset industry, and there's got to be deliberate action to look at it. Agriculture 6.8%, electricity 3.4%, construction at 1.6%. When looking at the contribution of the district to the Free State economy in 2022, Mangaung is topping at 40%. Garipe is the lowest at 3%. You'll understand why certain intervention at a later stage, given this economic data. Fezleda 24.6%, Thabo Mfutsanyana 17.6%, usually puts at 14.5%. At the end of the 2022, the Free State working age population stood at 1.93 million. Out of this total, 794,000 were employed and 490 were unemployed. Premier made a point about the fact that half of our population is grant dependent in the State of the Province Address. The province official unemployment rate stood at 34.6% in terms of available data in 2021. 1.85 million people were living in poverty using the upper poverty line definition. And we can tell with authority that this number accounted for Africans and blacks. This information is important because it helps us to take certain decisions. What decision, when that decision, and how that particular decision. To turn the economy of the Free State around and to address the socio-economic challenges facing our people require bold action in terms of support provided to businesses and creating a conducive environment for a private sector investment in the economy, which will include national and international. The department with the mandate to drive economic development in the province will receive an average share of 1.5% of the provincial budget. By way of comparisons, other provinces will receive 2% and above of the total budget. KZN 2.3, Mpumalanga 2.5, Limpopo 2.2, Eastern Cape 2.18, Northwest 1.9%. All those comparisons are unfolding. The highlights of the 2022 financial year, the things that we said to our people we are going to do. In terms of waste reduction, 25 landfill sites were audited for compliance to date. 100% of received waste license applications were issued within legislated periods. The department created 200 expanded public works through its Cleaning of Towns program across 10 towns in the province. Equally, all environmental authorization applications that were received in this financial year were issued within legislated time frame, thus enabling economic development of a sustainable environment. The department is also working with the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research to implement the industrial symbiosis strategy at the industrial parks as part of the waste diversion intervention on biodiversity economy and management. Biodiversity management is becoming increasingly important from an economic and conservation perspective. The National Biodiversity Strategy provides guidance on the shared commercial utilization and benefit from indigenous flora and fauna species. To this end, the department has assisted 503 traditional healers with permit applications and approvals. About chika to a point where Miriana is actually itolala pupilung ba banayaro. Accelerating growth, economic growth. Madam Speaker, the provision of both financial and non-financial support to SMMEs by the departments remains key towards achieving economic growth, transformation and job creation. We have funding and marketing intervention success stories, such as that of Ntate Paladi Matsule of Sibata Maize Mill in Frankfurt, producing maize meal and samp, marketed through major retail stores and exported to countries such as Lesotho, Swaziland, and DRC. Good story. Another success story is that of 360, which is Bloemfontein-based company which manufactures various custom-made concrete products as manholes, culverts, caps, and concrete pipelines. And all of these companies have been assisted both by the department and the provincial government in its entirety. The FDC provided financial support to SMMEs, 24 SMMEs, to unlock their financial barriers, including 8 youth-owned CDP contractors doing work for the Department of Human Settlement. The department provided business development support to 5721 SMMEs as part of its drive to support sustainable enterprises. Honorable members, provision of appropriate operating space for SMMEs remains one of our priorities towards formalization of SMMEs. Say that they don't just operate in the street, but they've got all the required papers to be able to trade. To this end, the FDC have spent over 2.7 million in rental incentives at its industrial parks, and over 25 SMMEs benefited from these incentives. Furthermore, the department has concluded a partnership with Mangaung Municipality, the Tsatsi Power Project, and others to establish SMME Hub, which will benefit 16 enterprises in Ward 6 in Mangaung. You will appreciate how our SMME struggles to just have basic access to data or Wi-Fi, and hence this particular intervention. Madam Speaker, last year when we were standing before this Okas House, promised the people of the Free State that the Hangda Steel, which will be establishing a steel factory in Tabanchu, yielding 2,000 jobs when fully commissioned. This investment facilitated by the FDC, it's worth over 300 million. And that's why investors are very important. We can report that the department itself spent around 11 million in enhancing the electricity capacity at this particular project. Madam Speaker, despite the challenges of both electricity and water supply, industrial parks continue to attract investment into the province due to various incentives provided by FDC in attracting new investors. Matsiti, a hula, ki ha o fana ka lefatshe, ha o fana ka ntho tsena kaofela tse le hore di tla thusa hore o kgone ho etsa dikgwebo dibakeng tseo tse itseng. E nngwe ya tsona ke ditoropo tse hlwekileng, o fumaneha metsi le motlakase. Very important incentives. The high unemployment rate amongst young people remain a pressing challenge for the province. To this end, the FDC has been working with various public and private partners on training youth on various skills relevant for our economy. 3520 participants have benefited from a total investment of 59 million. In the next 2 years, the FDC, together with its partners, will roll out a 12-month skills program focusing on specific areas of high employment absorption potential, including the relevant district owing to the economy of those districts. The estimated investment in this program for the next coming 5 years will be around 500 million, which was sourced from the National Developmental Finance Institution. Towards industrialization through value chain beneficiation, our core program as a department and as a provincial government, which to a certain extent will also include municipalities. Value chain economic transformation approach remains a foundation for economic transformation in terms of ownership pattern and the structure of the economy. We said there will never be economy that develops, that grows and redistributed without attending to the structure of the economy. We did make that point. The approach has given direction to our economic sector master plans. Our approach to leverage state procurement, charity start at home. Before we go engage private sector, let's start with in-house capacity, state procurement, to support local businesses and our overall approach to economic reconstruction and recovery. Kind of approach, re batla go phamisa sekgahla sa ho fehla mesebetsi. Re qala ka tse ka hore ha o fara kgwebo business, he must be able, government must be the first market hore a kgone ho sustain a ska shwa hobane ha emela batho ba kene one by one e ka nna ya mo bakela mathata. Madam Speaker, the Free State Province government has identified state procurement as one of the levers that can be used to stimulate industrialization and value chain beneficiation through the support of locally produced goods and services, local production, local consumption. Of course, there will always be an interlink with outside economy, other provinces, and of course Africa, Lesotho, and the rest of the world. The department will ensure that this framework is implemented from this financial year, and it can help to stimulate, in particular, quite critical, the township economy. As I said, Clarence begins also. Muruo wa batho ba rona mo ba dulang teng o nkuwe ene re tshwantse re o kgutlise. The Provincial Procurement Regulation of 2022 require organs of state to develop procurement policies which take into consideration key developmental programs and provides for points to be awarded for local sourcing and production targeting specific groups such as youth, women, and people living with disabilities. The department will sign a memorandum of understanding. I know one to strategy. We sign a memorandum of understanding for a sister department so that we're able to say everybody else has got to contribute towards this thing that we want to achieve in the economy. This will ensure that participation of local and township enterprises in the value chain of various commodities procured by organs of state can be given a practical meaning. By Yala Tamati, unfortunately, the established business is not consuming their products. And we've got to be able to create them a market, especially now that it's us who gave rise to their establishment. The step will ensure that the framework is implemented and the participation of local enterprises in the value chains of various commodities procured by organs of state can be given a practical meaning. That's the point we're making. The department is also working closely with big business who are taking as well value chain beneficiation in the private sector, which will be mining, agriculture, logistics, finance, and all other areas of the economy in the province, to also open up procurement opportunities for local enterprises. But we're saying, let's step up this relationship. Private business has got capacity to be able to help us to build our local economy, in particular in our townships. Trade and investment promotion. The natural gas find around Virginia is a game changer for the economy of the province at large, but the economy of Machabeng in particular. The natural gas is very pure, which makes it easy to liquefy, thus make it easy to transport. The natural gas contains one of the richest helium concentration recorded globally. That's why helium is balloon fell. But very powerful ingredient. Helium has got an important industrial application, such as manufacturing of fiber optic cables, cooling agent for MIR scanners, LCD panels, and semiconductors. The department will commission a feasibility study to look into the possibility of establishing a special economic zone in the area in order to take advantage of the opportunities presented by this gas find. We recognize investment as a most crucial determinant of economic growth, whilst a number of municipalities, development finance institutions, and departments may have their methods of providing incentives to attract investment. We realize that such efforts are not coordinated and they lack harmony. To this end, we've finalized the development of a procurement incentive guideline which seeks to integrate our investment attraction efforts as a province. The Premier speaks about a sleeping giant which must wake up, and all of these efforts are intended precisely to pursue that particular axiom. More will be done to reduce the cost of doing business in the province in order to attract and retain private sector investment. Our department's research shows that the cost of doing business is relatively high in the Free State than in other provinces. We will engage, in particular, in fact, we have started local government to ensure that this province is attractive to investors by lowering the cost of doing business. An example is the property rates in municipalities. We are not arguing otherwise. All what we're saying is that it disincentivizes investment in the provincial economy. Madam Speaker, as part of our drive to attract both local and foreign direct investment, we will host the Free State Investment Conference of a particular focus on infrastructure, mining, and exploration. The department has identified strategic assets that will form part of catalytic project to drive economic activities. Some of these identified assets are the state-managed resorts, Pakisa Raceway, and Velcom Airport. The department met with Machabeng local municipality to find investors who can invest in Velcom Airport and to turn it into a multimodal logistic hub with various facilities, including possible international cargo and domestic passenger port facilities. We are in the process of soliciting private investors for the Pakisa Raceway to conduct various developments in the raceway area, with the possibility of establishing a convention center. Number of investors are interested in investing in this asset, and we're confident that around 400 million will be pumped into the economy of Machabeng municipality. And once this investment is realized, the facility has already attracted a significant race of Racing Federation rally scheduled for 6 and 7 October 2023, sponsored by Renegade, a company which is running the Kese project. We're turning Machabeng as a second economic powerhouse in our province. Setjhaba se tla una molemo ka mesebetsi e tla tholahalla ho tswa project ena e bohlokwa e kgolo kana kana. Through FDC, we're continuing to support SMMEs in critical value chain. Everything else we do must be value chain with localization potential. This means that the FDC property, SMMC, trade and investment units should be at the forefront of ensuring that SMMEs are provided with appropriate support. Our intention is to deal with the red tape of the entities. Thanks to the Premier, he has been the champion of ensuring that this province is able to deal with this particular challenge, hindering possible investment in our province. Amongst many things, to this extent, DESTEA will assist in renovating at least 10 factories in Putarichaba Industrial Park, where there are already a number of new clothing and textile industrialists who have applied to locate in this industrial park with a potential of creating over 500 new jobs. Every time an investor comes and wants to sign a memorandum of understanding with us, says, give me factories, hence this particular investment. During the financial year, the special economic zones, by the way, in Putarichaba, the one that we have and is already existing, has created a lucrative investment pipeline of 12 investors in various sectors. This pipeline has an estimated value of 2.8 billion and includes 2 investors whose application are at an advanced stage, namely Dalonet Textile and Bantu Foods. To date, Special Economic Zone has created 167 jobs and anticipate an additional 120 in the short term. Despite the jobs reported, there are also 1,110 jobs created by the existing FDC tenants who will be migrated to the SE zone. Now, in terms of the industrial parks, our objective, to create as a PTPT, the department attended a very successful South African investment conference convened by the President just a month ago, 13 April 22, no, just 2 weeks ago. A number of foreign investment, who we have met, by the way, led by Premier Tukwana, have showed keen interest in investing in our province, owing to its strategic location. When the Premier spoke about the sleeping giant, was saying Free State interconnects about 5 to 6 provinces, including Lesotho, and that has got to be an advantage to grow our economy. And we want to thank you, Premier. Already the ones that we met, Airports Company of South Africa committed to spend about 100 million from this financial year for Luxus at the Brown Fisher Airport. Coca-Cola Beverages South Africa will spend close to 70 million in upgrading and refurbishing their 2 plants in the Free State province. And further 100 million, this one we had to back. It's one thing about investment, but we don't back to the extent of sacrificing the sovereignty of our country and our people. That they will further spend 100 million in support of local enterprises in areas such as business financing and supplier development. They went to the extent of committee, we will help you to deal with the problems of the township economy through the tax shops. With further discussions with other potential investors who have shown interest in areas such as tourism, hydroponics, biogas, alternative building technologies, and agri-tech. We will host a Free State Investment Conference later this year as part of the ongoing efforts to attract investment in such areas as mining, renewable energy, gas extraction. We're creating new money in the Free State economy over and above our budget. Enterprise support is a cornerstone of growth and job creation. Township-based enterprises are still faced with access to market challenges in order to graduate to the next level of operation. The department will continue to support township enterprises through promoting supplier diversity program as a means to assist local enterprises to capitalize on existing procurement opportunities and to proactively build partnership to collaborate on supplier development initiatives. What we're basically saying is that borakgwebo potlana ba rona ka hara makeishene ya rona, department e tshwantse e etse bonnete ya hore ya ba thusa. If ba thusiwa hore ba etse mosebetsi o itseng o tla contributang le mosebetsi le economy ya rona, re tshwantse re etse bonnete ba hore re ba createla these opportunities and re etsa le hore ba tsebe hore where are those opportunities. Regarding access to market, we will continue to profile and expose rural and township enterprises to markets using physical, hybrid, and online platform. Digitize the economy. Digitize our province, the society of the Free State. An example is pop-up markets program in collaboration with CEDA and many others. The attrition rate of SMMEs is attributable to lack of inter alia streamlined needs-based non-financial support services for SMMEs. This means that financial support on its own is not sufficient. We also have got to provide support through training. And in this context, the department will continue to offer business development and support services to SMMEs to mitigate their risk of failure. We're happy to announce that the department has received funding approval of about 5.5 million from Mayor Sita for support of SMMEs in the automotive sector. Thank you very much, Premier, for leading us in this progressive direction. In financial support, the department will sign a memorandum of understanding with the National Empowerment Fund, quite key, with a provincial growth fund following other provinces. Create this fund, it must then help you to grow your economy in the province. Especially the enterprises owned by youth, by women, people living with disabilities, access to financial instruments to support their business. The department will develop a detailed brochure that outlines available funding opportunities for SMMEs, both in private and public sectors, and will continue to link SMMEs with national department, with national finance, developmental finance, as well as commercial banks. Our intention is to enhance this uptake of available enterprise support instrument, but this will also pursue digital to ensure that, because SMMEs must have access to information in terms of opportunities and where to get assistance. By a click on the phone, that information must be able to be accessible. Motho a dulang Senekal, a holele provincial government in Bloemfontein, a dulang Johannesburg, Stensres, Smithfield, must be able to access such type of services as part of their support. Honorable members, the growth in the demand for hemp products worldwide present opportunities for the province, refine industrial hemp into commercial items such as hair products, skin product, textile, and animal feed. An instruction from the state of the province address. We will be working very closely, and we are very excited that the MEC of Agriculture did as well mention this particular project. So we'll be providing assistance for a processing plant in Kharib district. And that's why I said link that analysis of the 3% contribution of Kharib to the provincial GDP with our interventions. Digitize the business and improves efficiency and cost saving. By providing better access to information and improving communication between staff, our SMEs must be able to talk to the staff of both DESTEA and the entire provincial government, so that they are provided with better access to information and improving communication between all these critical people. Notwithstanding these benefits, most SMMEs in the developing world still lag far behind than their peers elsewhere in the world in terms of adopting these new technologies. In this regard, we will continue to provide both financial and non-financial support to the Botshabelo Digital Hub, which is critical in assisting local SMMEs in developing and adopting new digital solutions. In this financial year, we are allocating around 31.779 million for facilitation of both financial and non-financial support programs for the Free State-based enterprises, our SMMEs. Energy security as an enabler of investment. An Energy Security Command Center coordinated by the Department of Water has been established in the province to deal with energy security matters. To complement the work of this command, we are working closely with Petro SA to exploit the centrality of the Free State for use as a hub for bulk storage and distribution of various petroleum products. It's a practical step towards this realization of this goal. We're working with Petro SA, Mangaung Municipality, Transit Freight Rail to refurbish the rail access to line to the Hamilton Petro SA depot in Bloemfontein. The recommissioning of the Bloemfontein depot will allow for storage of petroleum products like fuel, diesel, jet fuel, oil and gas. This will be a direct injection to the economies of both the province and that of the municipality. Legislative interventions. The department has developed the Free State Integrated Local Economic Development and Transformation Bill, whose objective is to provide for the promotion and development of Free State economy and to create a conducive environment for the attainment of that purpose. The bill provides, amongst many, for exclusive ownership of operation of certain specified business categories, regulation of foreign ownership, underline. Regulation of foreign ownership of certain business categories through prescribed quotas, and for designation certain commodities for the mandatory enterprise development by all businesses in provincial state organs. There's nothing wrong to call for the economy of the Free State to benefit the people of the Free State. And we're saying through this bill, seriti sa batho ba rona go ya ka dikgwebo tsa bona makeisheneng a ba dulang go tsona tshwantse di kgutle. As well, Speaker, the amendment of the Free State Gambling, Liquor and Tourism Act, number 6 of 2020, will play a critical role in the revenue enhancement strategy of the province. The bill will enable the authority to unlock additional gambling models. Ha khutswanyana ka yena na re batla go dila ka mathata male Willows mo ma student a rona dulang teng. That particular area has been made an alcohol hub when in fact we're producing the engineers and the leaders of tomorrow. These changes in this bill takes us directly to deal with that particular program. Both these two bills will be finalized this year, 2023 and 2024 financial year, once the legislature has finalized its own processes. Consumer education and protection. In summary, Premier, we are conducting operations 24-hour consumer awareness session together with the SAPS. Today, just yesterday, a month ago, Department of alcohol on tourism. It's only appropriate at this point in time to salute and congratulate two of our tourism facilities in our province who are among 26 businesses and destinations from 21 countries nominated for the World Tourism Award. Speaker, to cultivate the culture of traveling and services excellence in our province, we've also introduced the Tourism Friday program. This program was started in the previous financial year in collaboration with the Department of Education to enhance tourism educators' icons and destination programs in the program. As part of enhancing visitors' experience at our resort, the department approached the National Department of Tourism for a financial support. 16 million was approved for this purpose. We're also allocating around 50.113 million for ongoing repairs, maintenance, upgrade, and refurbishments across all our resorts and reserves. Enhancing intergovernmental relations to improve waste management. The department will focus on economic opportunities existing within this waste management ecosystem. In this financial year, we are allocating 4 million to support SMMEs who are participating in the waste economy, working with the Department of Forest. Climate change, we've been experiencing increased temperatures in many parts of our province, and this is confirmed by CSIR that predicts annual average temperatures increase of between 2.5 to 3%. In other words, we're continuing to have another turbulences this year, and we've got to position ourselves in such a manner that on behalf of our people who are able to respond. Conservation and biodiversity economy. We will continue to support traditional healers in our province through permitting, and the DESTEA traditional healers database will continue to be updated. We are allocating about 2.1 million for programs geared towards clearing of alien and invasive plant species across all of our protected areas, and at least 150 EPWP work opportunities will be created. We are saying through this money, the generation to come, and we must prevent an extinction of some of these important plants. Building a capable and developmental state. It's part of our efforts to deepen the oversight role of the department over our entities. I will immediately appoint shareholder representatives from the ranks of the senior managers in the department to the boards of all entities so that there's realignment and the signage between what the department is doing and what the department is doing. On our finances, our ability to deliver on our mandate remains constrained by allocated financial resources. The fact that our budget only grew by 1.5% between 2019 and 2023 is a reflection of how constrained the department is in executing its grown mandate, as well as in providing support to its ailing entities. We wish to reposition our entities to be able to to do the work for which they're established. Liquor Board must be able to market our province. FTC must provide SMMEs with support. And SEZ must create new money by looking for investment. But we appreciate, Mekadisha, that the allocation to SEZ is growing from 20 million to 40 million in 2024-2025 financial year. And we are confident this budget will create the necessary capacity to increase SEZ overall performance. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, we are now tabling before this House the 2023-2024 budget allocation of the department to the tune of 629,507,000 distributed across the department's programs as follows. Administration, 190 million. Environmental Affairs, 208 million. Economic and Small Business Support, 216 million. Program Tourism, 13 million. Honorable Speaker, I would like to take this opportunity to thank my organization, the ANC, for showing confidence in me to lead this difficult portfolio. I thank the support and guidance of the Portfolio Committee, my colleagues within the executive, the HOD, officials in both the department and entities, and of course, my family for always providing me with the necessary support. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. TP, I like the pit part of it. Meko. We proceed to the debate on the MEC's presentation of the budget vote of economic, small business development, tourism, and environmental affairs. I will now go to the debate and call the chair of the committee, Honorable Ngangisa, to take the podium.
Eric Kaleka story Celestiva Alice Rati Maralizi Nexikaso Recron starter mona Pleke irele tu kapere eshwele Pere ne onwa ke motho a bitswang full zone a rela pleke ya full zone scroll ka lebitso la hae Aska fella mo atla holo pere ya ha ishwella mo a rela ka trope bitswang Kronstadt ke a tseba le rato ba ka tsatsi le pere o ishweleng ka teng hona le batho ba ile ba lahlelwa ke maphelo so ha ona rauna ntwe le ka etsang o smaki teng mona o tla le thusa hore na re sebetse jwa mosebetsing wa hore re fetole lebitso leo go ba ke tshepe hore le thabela o reellwa ka pere e shweleng Chair of Chairs Honorable Bulwani, Deputy Speaker, Me Lusima Pena, Ndatem Kolisi Tukwani, your absentia. No, you are starting again. Members of the Executive Council, Leader of Government Business, Ntatema Kume, leaders of political parties, honorable members, Executive Mayor of Mukaka, Pratoy, mayors and councillors present here today, ba aiba Freistata ka kakaretso dumelang le batho ba media. Let me on behalf of the African National Congress welcome the budget speech made by our own Obditabo Pete Meko, a son from here in Mukaka municipality himself, was born and raised in the dusty streets of this community. Uitwela Hunters Flakwa. It is the difficult economic challenges that he grew under which have driven him to be where and what he is today, astute, clear political leader. Due to these challenges, he grew as a leader in his peers in the student movement and in the African National Congress Youth League. We are further encouraged by our close proximity We are further encouraged by our close proximity. We are gathered here today not so far where the mortal remains of our father and grandfather, astute and ardent and prolific political leader, Comrade Reverend Mahabane, who had an opportunity to lead the African National Congress presidency twice in his early years, and the movement dedicated time for him to provide leadership. We raise our eyes to the mountains and appeal to our ancestors to be with us and ensure that as we present this budget speech, we're in a position to develop and implement for the people of the Free State. All over the developing world, the development process is a cause of great concern. In our country and all other countries, development planning has created conditions for a substantial proportion of the population which are far from satisfactory or dignifying. Evidence of acute deprivation and almost inhuman degradation is sharply presented itself everywhere, both in urban and rural areas. Their condition stands out most sharply because of the presence of a minority of really wealthy individuals concentrated particularly in the metropolitan centers, and in our case, also in secondary centers. You will all appreciate the famous expression of the former president of the country and the president of the ANC, Thabo Mbeki, when he diagnosed the economy of the South Africa and dubbed it as a two economies in one country. We, however, understand the debates that the economy is one, categorized on the basis of race because of apartheid and colonialism, to attend to a few on the basis of the color of their skin and exclude the majority on the basis of color of their skin. In our early decades, chair of chairs, development was conceived of and involving not only economic growth, but also conditions in which people in our country have adequate food and jobs, and the income inequality among them is greatly reduced. Then it was argued that the question to ask about a country's development are in a threefold. One question would be, is the development of the economy attempting to reduce poverty? Or is the development of the economy attempting to increase employment and reduce unemployment? Is it attempting to close the gap of inequality? In all the three of these, our case has shown a dismaying decline at levels unproportional, unacceptable, and to the detriment of the majority of our people. And this is basically the paradigm that we need to change, as also espoused in the National Development Plan, because it identifies these triple challenges and then put ourselves acutely to attempt to raise them. However, the crucial targets should be ownership as well as output in the leading economy sector. And this is also contained in our famous document, the Freedom Charter, which the MEC has quoted. The wealth of the country shall be shared amongst those who work it. And the emphasis and the operative way is the shared wealth of the country amongst and within the people of the South. And we appreciate that for us to move forward to sharing the wealth, the premise must be to build that wealth to an extent that we are able to utilize it for the benefit of the country. Secondly, consumption patterns that economize on foreign exchange, institutional capacity for research and negotiation, and lastly, cultural goals of the province. There's no economy anywhere in the world you can think of is not based on the culture of that particular country. And it is prudent for us as well to reconnect with our culture to enhance our economy, because it forms a critical pillar in us driving our economy forward. Against this background, the development of society or country is seen as essentially a transformation of its mode of production. Mode of production refers to elements, activities, and social relationships which are necessarily to produce and reproduce the real material life. Chair of Chairs, as the honorable member presented his speech, we listened clearly as he presented plans of his departments and in the current financial year. We are happy to see that a lot of emphasis is laid on basic requirements to ensure that the Free State is a force to be reckoned with. An emphasis is laid down at least on the following areas: the revitalization of the mining towns, which he has extremely and extensively alluded to, the small town regeneration program, central of the department in the DDM or IGR relations to municipal bylaws and environmental impact assessment. The constitutional imperatives like the promotion of social and economic development and promotion of safe and healthy environment. Centrality of the department in the relationship between the mining towns, mining houses, and government is crucial and essential. MEC, we want to urge that please take advantage on the economic prospects of a town called Itimberg in Kopano. There's a prospective uranium mine in that area that can enhance the economic situation of that area. We therefore, MEC, support this budget. We urge you to use the economic advantage of our province, coupled with the fact that ours is a youthful province, to develop youth development programs, particularly through the All-Power National Youth Service Program, with its emphasis on the following: community service, accredited learning, and exit strategies opportunities. And that's why we say on behalf of the African National Congress, we accept and do agree with this budget. We spit on capitalism, which is never sustainable, which is influenced by greed, which is not building any community, which is negating Ubuntu Butubaron. I thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll continue the list. Honorable Klute.
Thank you, Chair of Chairs. You know, I was wondering whether we're going to get a quote from Karl Marx today. And indeed, we had one. Thank you very much, MEC. Just remember, Karl Marx never earned a living wage and was supported by his colleague Engels. Yet, he had a lot to write about the working class. Marx also said, and I quote, "Religion is the impotence of the human mind to deal with occurrences it cannot understand." How narrowly one man could think about the world, that's why Marxism failed. Speaker or Chair of Chairs, the reality is we live in an unkind environment, whether it's economical or natural. Let's start with the latter. During the past decades, we have seen a new awareness of what we now call climate change. Earlier it was global warming. Okay, MEC, good. So establish that climate change forum, good news, but you have a bigger challenge. Look at the level of pollution by our municipalities. As we see here in Kroonstad, Sewage flowing into the streets and into the rivers and streams. Where is the outrage on that? Refuse sites are not being up to standard and litter being blown all over the place. And yes, most of these issues are related to municipalities, but we cannot sit back and see our natural resources being destroyed by pure municipal management. This department has a significant role to play. And there's maybe a good reason why this department joins the economy and the environment, although I think it might not be intentional. Let me explain. Research now shows us that as open economies grow and flourish and people are lifted out of poverty, more people tend to take the environment more seriously. Let me put it differently. Evidence show that the level of the openness of an economy is associated with a country's environmental protection. Maybe it's because we have a better understanding of why preservation and conservation is important. But that is where this department is failing dismally, in the sense that we need a vibrant economy. One can just look at the Treasury's economic review and outlook, and yes, we did experience a remarkable expansion in the economy, but we still see a high unemployment rate. This amidst the fact that we are still funding the Free State Development Agency, MAP SEZ, and yes, Pakisa, which remains a white elephant for the province. And I look forward to hearing from how Pakisa will be repurposed by the Gambling, Liquor and Tourism Authority. Just quickly, the province has spent more than 9.4 million on the roadway in 2 financial years, while it was only being able to bring in income of 1.2 million rand during this time. That is Marxism in action, MEC.
Thank you very much, Honorable Klute. I will now give Honorable Kadisha Brown.
Honourable Speaker, Honourable Premier, Deputy Speaker and members of the Executive Council, members of the Free State Provincial Legislature, our local government and traditional leadership, DG, heads of departments, CEOs, public entities and board members, business, industry, civil society, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. Madam Speaker, if you would allow me to outline an extract from the Presidency's Monitoring and Evaluation Report, which reads as follows. At the onset of democracy, the new government inherited an economy crisis. The economy that had been shaped by apartheid policies and by a dependence on mining exports. In 1994, 60% of exports were mineral products, although mining contributed only 10% of GDP. The apartheid economy was built on systematically enforced exclusion linked to racial division in every sphere. The apartheid state deliberately excluded black people from opportunities in the labor market and district ownership of businesses and land. It limited investments in infrastructure and services in black communities, and black entrepreneurs were denied access to industrial and retail sites, as well as credit. Furthermore, apartheid limited the residential rights of Africans in economically developed areas of the country unless they had a white employer, creating a system of migrant labor and impoverished rural areas, the so-called homelands, that were characterized by extraordinarily high levels of poverty and joblessness. Large white-dominated conglomerates controlled large parts of commerce and industry. There were high levels of concentration in most industries. Many industries were highly protected and spent little on investment, research, development, or training. At the same time, small and medium-sized enterprises were undeveloped. International isolation resulting from economic sanctions, import substitution, industrial policies, and lack of investment in technological improvements. This had reduced relative competitiveness of the South African industries and increased concentration. But further to that, in the late 70s through to 1994, the results of high levels of poverty and inequality, slow economic growth, falling investment accompanied by rising joblessness and poor educated workforce and skill shortages, a high cost structure, and an eroded manufacturing base. This led to the 1980s, where there were immense job shedding, especially in agriculture and mining, and manufacturing and services did not expand enough to compensate for this loss. And after 1980, unemployment became a key factor for our South African economy, and inequality and poverty too. So in 1995, it was estimated that only 28% of households and 48% of the population were living below the poverty line. Black women, youth, black people in the former Holland areas were likely to be the most impoverished, the most poor, the most unemployed. And with that structural inequalities, we are now working towards an environment and an economy that not only has to catch up in driving and maximizing this economic growth, but allow me to expand. Between 1990 and 1992, the country's GDP per capita also declined in this period, and I'd like to make a specific outline towards, other than the outstanding domestic debt, the high rates in debt, the deficit under our control, we found that outflows of capital had been much more fluent throughout those times. South Africa's economic growth improved dramatically post-1994 during the transition to our democracy. Our GDP in 1994 was 136 billion US dollars. Today, in 2022, our GDP is 420.28 billion US dollars. That is the new estimates by World Bank. Now, if I could analyze that very quickly, between 1960 and 1994, 34 years under the apartheid government, the GDP of South Africa grew by 127.3 billion US dollars. But during our democracy, 1994 and 2022, only in 28 years, our GDP grew by 284 billion US dollars. That is that it more than doubled in a shorter period of time. And that is a brief reflection of an inclusive economy that is due to the policy and laws of this ANC-led government. And this is what our ANC-led government has produced. Honorable Speaker, further to that, Nelson Mandela Foundation outlines that the immediate interests of the overwhelming majority of South Africans and people lie in carrying out the fundamental change, a national democratic revolution which will establish a united, democratic, non-racial South Africa. And it focuses on the Freedom Charter. Two aspects that I'd like to highlight. The people shall share in the country's wealth, and the land shall be shared among those who work it. Now, to satisfy that needs, Honorable MEC, we've got a vital role to ensure that we rapidly develop our economy in those major sectors. And it's not going to be an easy task to pursue our national democratic revolution, MEC. As difficult as the current economic environment is, and I assure you, MEC, that as much as the global, domestic, and provincial economic odds seem to be stuck against your sector's mandate, we are in this together. As a team, we will thrive. We are a resilient province after all. And your department's vision brought to you today is so aligned to what it is that you anticipate to implement over the next couple of months. Number one, we do admit that this budget is and will never be sufficient for the task at hand. It is therefore that this executive, we will work together and ensure that we've got leverage of national, provincial, public procurement and external funding to execute your mandate of providing a conducive environment and for economic growth. Number two, your MEC, you've outlined 11 sector master plans as a guide for development of economic reconstruction and the plan. And the following pillars talks to the Premier's vision of the central location become a logistics, distribution and industrial hub of the country. And that is to increase localization through ensuring that SMME across various value chains have a requisite capacity to supply goods and products for our Free State market, unlocking barriers to entry for new entrants into our markets, ensure transformation of key sectors of our economy, specifically for previously disadvantaged communities and rural enterprises, and advance requisite skills, technology, innovation to those identified sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, due to their potential to create more jobs. Number 3, the drive towards a circular economy by this department, which is premised on integrated waste management strategy and environment overall. Number 4, the development and support to SMMEs remain very important for our economic stimulation for the much needed employment opportunities in our province. 5, the refurbishments of our industrial parks in partnership with the private sector. It is commended, MEC, and the planned renovation of your 10 factories in Putadechaba Industrial Park and the expectation of the enormous job opportunities that could be created augurs well for economic prospects of this region, as well as the investment promotion and attraction of much desired pipeline of foreign and local direct investments. Number 6, MEC, your Maluti Apufung SEZ plans to renovate small factories ranging from 250 to 400 square meters, and that then creates an impetus towards the further delivery of the alluded 12 investors to the value of 12 billion in the Maluti Apufung SEZ. We are delighted to note these developments in that space. Number 7, the support to local and rural enterprises, the bill that should be passed in this legislature. We are delighted by the efforts of DESTEA in assisting local enterprises to maximize the available procurement opportunities not only in provincial government but also in the private sector. The assistance provided through your procurement machinery, the bill, the procurement strategy of the province, we believe that these are all tools to equip us to upscale enterprises that are much required. 8, the pipeline of public-private partnerships and the planned signing of the SOU with the National Empowerment Fund in the 23-24 financial year to create growth. We cannot ensure that an SME is developed and sustained without the relevant backing of and support of funding, and therefore this is imperative, and this progressive approach deserves to be supported by all stakeholders. Number 9, your tourism industry, which is responsible for planning, development and transformation. MEC Meko, we must step back, you're right, and re-look and reimagine the sector. We stand ready to support DESTEA in rebuilding the tourism sector through decisive interventions, its destination readiness, its marketing, and it includes this innovation approach that you have and you've mobilized through various funding mechanisms on ensuring that your tourism grading council and compliance in this regard is well identified. Honourable Speaker, Chair of Chairs, I affirm again, as this MEC presented this budget, we do realise that this budget is not sufficient to support the broad spectrum and the mammoth task that this department has ahead. And the challenge with this department is that the MEC creates a function of coordination and driving this economy across all spheres of provincial departments. And as the executive, we hereby, through the economic cluster and the various clusters in which we work under, ensure that through this department and this MEC, that every single provincial department in its own right team up and ensure that we meet those targets and timeframes for all the initiatives that this MEC was presenting today. This budget presented pushes back the challenge of poverty, inequality and unemployment. It strives for a transformed economy and a prosperous society that is living in harmony with its natural resources. It is grounded on instilling hope. Hope and a budget which strives to respond to our aspirations and dreams of our people of the Free State Province. Madam Speaker, we and I support this progressive budget presented by our MEC, our colleague, and remain resolute, MEC Meko, alutua continua. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable MEC Brown. Honorable Mashinini.
know, ha ke lebohe motsamaisi wa dipuisano wa ntlo ya ketsamolao ka hara province ya Freistata, le nna ke nke madume ke dumedise tonakgolo ya Freistata bosiong ba hae, maloko ohle a ketsamolao, Executive Council, Director General, hlo tsa mafapha tse teng kwano, bo majoro bohle ba teng kwano mmoho le makhanselara, marena le mafumahadi a teng kwano, baholo ba rona ke a ba bona ba tlile ba ikokotlela ba tlo mamela hore na diphisanong tsena ho etsahalang ke eng. Bomme le bontate batho ba batjha, tsatsing la kasheno motsamaisi wa dipuisano re iphumana re le ntlo ya ketsamolao re le ka hara sebaka sena sa hao majoro sa Moqhaka e le ho ntshetsa pele programa ya rona ya ntlo ya ketsamolao hore setjhaba sa bo rona se fumane monyetla wa ho mamela le ho utlwisisa hore na ha o tekua ditekanyetso ka hara ntlo ya molao ho bo ho latela le diphisano mona re diphisanong. Jwale ba bang ba tla hana ho dumellana le ditekanyetso tsena, ba bang ba dumellane le ditekanyetso tsena. Jwale re mona re a phisana ka ditekanyetso tsena ho leka ho fetola maemo a setjhaba sa bo rona, mme ke batla ho qala pele ka ho aletsa hore ya tse ding tseo re tlameileng re ithute re be re di ananele ka ho tloloha. Ha motho a ema re ntse re phisana a re yena ha dumellane le ditekanyetso tsena, empa hosane a iphumana a le metseng le metsaneng ya rona a re ke kopa le mvoutele, potso ke ena, ha o no hana ka ditekanyetso go di tle go rona jwalo ka di beilwe ke letona, o bolela eng ha o re wena o ka etsa ho betere ho feta ho o bo hanne o di dumela ditekanyetso tsena ha di tla ho rona? Jwale re tlamehile ka matsatsi ohle motsamaisi wa dipuisano re bua nnete, re be re dumele hore lefapha lena letona la ka le kgabane ke lona la bohlokwa, hobane ha hona moo itsweng maphelo a rona ha fetoha a tla fetoha fela ha o sebetsa. Re tlamehile re ithute hore ya tse ding tse fetolang maphelo a rona ke hore batho ba ileng ba kotelwa pele nakong ya ho feta hore ba ka nka karolo moruong, ebe ka shenena ba nka karolo. Ha ba ka nka karolo moruong ke yona tsela e tlo fetola maphelo le bofuma ka hara setjhaba sa bo rona. Tabena ke batla ho e bua nna ke utlwisisa hore nako e telele ke ka ona maAfrika a ne a etsuwa makgoba a mosebetsi, ke ka ona maAfrika a ne a etsuwa hore ha o batla batho ba sebetsang tsa mo ba lata ba tle mo ba tlo sebetsa, hwa bona ha se hore ebe baetapele ebe bona ba ikemiseditse ba tshwarang dibesaga ka hara sebaka sa bo rona, hwa bona e ne le hore fela ba sebetsa ba qeta moo ba tswe ba tsamaya. Ke ka hona ho ne ho na le molawane wa didompaso o nong o ntsha batho ka hara makeishene, o tla fela o tla sebetsa o qeta o tswe tsamaya. Jwale budget ena letona la ka le kgabane e re ha re tsweleng pele re ise moruo ho maAfrika. Ene ke a phephetsa mona me ke leng teng. Ha o ka qala wa re fela ke phisano le budget ena kapa ditekanyetso tsena, o hlalose hore na o phisa hobaneng. Hobane ha ke di sheba letona laka dire 1, ho tlamela ho lokiswa dibakeng tsa rona tsa maAfrika tsa batho ba batsho. Jwale ha ke ema mo ke re ke kgahlanong le ntho eo, ka mantswe a mang ke batla ho bolela hore nakong ya ho feta e ne e lokile. Motsamaisi wa dipuisano mona mo ke leng teng ke kgathetse ke ntho ya hore ke bolellwa hore ha o batla ho tseba hore na ko kae mo sebetswang hantle teng, o fetele mane Western Cape. Ke a e bua taba e hobane ba bangata ba rona Western Cape kapa Cape Town a re tsebe. Ha re soka re ba le monyetla o fitla mona e re ko bolelle mme wa ka. Ha o fitla mo o tla fumantsha hore ha o kena ka hara tropo o bo ya le ke la ka ba le monyetla hore ke e fitla langa le kukulethu. Ha ke fitla mono ho hobe ho senyeile wa tsabeya. Jwale e kae ntho ena ya hore o tsamaya le rona o fetola maemo a bo batho ba bo rona, ha e se fela ho ba sebedisa hore o fihlelle ditakatso le ditabatabelo tsa hao. Me ha fitla motho a fitla re ke tla lokisa sebaka sa habo lona, re e bua ntla ena re sa kgethe ebile re sa lobe letho. Ha o tseba hore o tla lokisa sebaka sa habo rona, ha o tseba hore o tla nka moruo o ise bathong ba bo rona, nako e kaofela o hlotswe ke eng hore o etse ntho o lokise dibaka tsa habo rona. Mme ha motho a etla ba fitla re ha re tla e etsa letona laka o tswela pele morena jwalo ka o so entse ditekanyetso. Ke bone ebile ke dumellana le tsona ditaba tsena tsa hore makeisheneng moo re phelang teng setjhaba sa bo rona ho be le bohlweki, ho bonahale hore ke dibaka tseo re phelang ho tsona. Mme ke tla ipiletsa le rona setjhaba sa maAfrika ka wena motsamaisi wa dipuisano hore ha re se re hlwekisitse re ke re buisaneng le rona re le batho hore skare ha o tlisitswe matlakala moo ebe wa khutla o lo lahlela hona moo hape le wena. Lokisa sebaka seo go sebe maemong, hobane ha sebaka se le maemong a lokileng se etsa ntho ene re bitsang ka hore se hohela matsete. Ena taba ke batla ho e ama hore ke ya tse ding tse dintho tse re tlameleng re eme ha ntse re leka ho lokisa moruo hore o ye bathong. Tsa tse ding tsa dintho tse sitisang ke tsona tsena tsa hore re ske ra nka kapa dibaka tsa rona moo re dulang teng di dule di hlwekile. Ke ananela taba ena ya recycling ya hore ho sejediswe ditaba tsa hore ha ona le dintho ska di lahla fela ho etswe ntho re bitsang ka hore ke recycling. Ke ananela letona la ka hore ke yona ntho e etsang hore batho ba bo rona tlasa bothata bona ba tlhokeho ya mosebetsi le bona ho be le seo ba se etsang ba kgone hore ba ka kgona ho phela le malapa a bona. Jwalo ka o so o boletse dibaka tsa boikgathollo tse teng ka hara sebaka sa bo rona le tsona o di shebile. Mme ke a dumela haholo hore ya tse ding tse o beileng leihlo le ntjhotjho ke dibaka tsena tsa difeme tse senang kgathallo e kalo. Mme o itse atjhe ke tla kena moo ke yo lokisa ditaba tseo jwalo ka o boletse dibaka bo botshabele bo thabantshu bo qwaqwa jwalo jwalo. Mme ditaba tsena ke nahana hore ke ditaba tse shebaneng le setjhaba sa bo rona ho leka ho fetola maphelo a bona. Hona le sebaka sane sa Maluti a Phofung Special Economic Zone seo ke tsebang hore o leka makgobonthithi ohle, o leka makgobonthithi ohle hore boramatsete ba kene ka hara sebaka sa province ya Freistata. Mme o ihlakisitse ka otloloha ditabeng tsa hao hore o so lebelletse bo matsete ba itseng hore ba kene sebakeng seno hore o kgone hore o fetolwe maphelo a batho ba bo rona le hore batho ba batjha ba fumane mesebetsi ka hara dibaka tsa bo rona. Ya bohlokwa tlamehile ebe batho ba rona ba ownang dibaka tseo. Jwale ha o le mo o tlo mamela diphisano tsona, ikukele hore ho shejuwe kae kae, wa shejwa kae kae, hore tle re ha o tswa mona o mathe le wena o kgona ho kenya. Ska lebella hore ho hlae motho yo mong ka thoko a tlo etsa mosebetsi, wena ema ka maoto etse mosebetsi. Puso e o fa sebaka sa hore budget e ke ena, ditekanyetso ke tsena, re di beha mona le mona le mona, jwale ebe setjhaba sa bo rona se mathang moo hore se etelle pele. Mara ha o kena moo re ipiletse ka matsatsi ohle, ska kena o etsa ntho ena hore wena o batla ho ja ka pelenyana ra o qeta ho ja bo tswa o tsamaya. Thusa setjhaba sa bo rona hore se kgone hore se fumane bophelo bo nepahetseng. Jwale letona la ka le Kgabane ke dumellana le wena ka ditekanyetso tseo di entseng ha o tla ntlheng yane ya ditsamaiso tsa administration, ha o tla dintlheng tsa tikoloho tsa bophelo dibakeng tseo re phelang ho tsona. Ke dumellana le wena ka hore o nke ditekanyetso tse itseng o di kenye ho batjha le batho ba baholo ba batlang ho qala di-business. Ke dumellana le taba eo hobane re batla hore moruo o kgutlele setjhabeng sa bo rona. So ke ntho ya bohlokwa eno eo bang o entse. Ya bone o e entseng ke ena hore ditekanyetso o di sitse hape ntlheng ena ya bohahlaudi ka hara province ya Freistata, ka sejatlhapi re bitsa ka hore ke tourism. So re dumellana le yona taba eo hore ditekanyetso tsa hao ha o ya o lebile ntlheng eo di arabela ntlheng yane e buang ke Freedom Charter ya hore the people shall share in the wealth of this country. So di isa teng hore re kgone ho tswela pele. Ka mantswe ao ke batla ho bontsha hore sebui se seng silaka sa bua sa re philosophers have interpreted the world. The challenge, however, is how to change it. Jwale banna bana ba tla dula ba hana ha re nka ditekanyetso re di shebisa ho setjhaba sa bo rona. Ke bua ka bana ka ba lehlakoreng la ka le letshehadi. Hobane ntate, hobane ha o ka sheba o tla fumantsha hore ke bua fela ke lekanyetsa. Ha o ka nka lesapo wa le fanja, ho tla ba thata hore o ka nka lesapo leo mo medleng teng. Mme ke diphephetso tse re di shebileng. Jwale ke re wena he letona la ka le Kgabane, tswela pele ka sekgowa ke re backward never, forward forever. Tswela pele fela o etse jwalo. Ha ke qetella motsamaisi wa dipuisano ke re ke a leboha, mme re ananela ditekanyetso tsa letona. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Danielson.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I just want to confirm with Honourable Klute
Order.
that when I taught political ideology at the University of the Free State, the Honourable MEC Meko was not one of my students. So don't quote Marx and think it's my responsibility. Honourable Speaker, it's befitting that we should discuss issues relating to development and specifically the economy here in the DA-run Fizile Derby district. Honourable Speaker, Kroonstad is a town with much potential, as is the whole municipality and the district. We have wonderful residents here and a great deal of political and economic potential as the N1 gateway between the Free State and South Africa's economic hub in Gauteng. We would once again like to congratulate the residents of Kroonstad who rolled up their sleeves in the absence of a municipality to get things done and allowed Kroonstad to win the Kwela Town of the Year award in 2022. Congratulations. But while we gathered here in Kroonstad, the residents of Viljoenskroon, Kroonstad, Steynsrus, and other towns across the Free State are dying on our roads and are drowning in sewage. Yesterday, I traveled on the road between Bethlehem and Kroonstad, and I also have had reports that people have died on the road between Steynsrus and Kroonstad, and the road between Bethlehem and Lindley is deteriorating fast. The road between Edenville and Heilbron is just as deadly, and it's not just killing our people, it's also killing our local economies in the Free State. Honorable Speaker, since we're here in Kroonstad, I want to repeat a story that I told previously in this legislature. 12 years ago, the former MEC for the Department of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs, who is the current Premier, and I see he's fled the hall, announced the Unicore project in his budget speech in 2011. He stated, and I want to quote, that this project would be a 35 million investment of a huge high-tech medical supplies manufacturing facility in Kroonstad. Yeah. This establishment is set to provide 300 jobs once it is fully operational. This project is a pilot for other manufacturing enterprises to set up in Parijs and Sasolburg, which will ultimately form part of the Free State manufacturing triangle. I close quote. Together with our current Premier, our former Premier Ace Magashule later also announced that this is one of his Operation Tlasela projects. Speaker, where is this promised project today? Where are the 300 jobs that were promised through this project? Where's the 10 million that was invested in this project by the Free State Development Corporation? Speaker, in a reply to a question to the former MEC for DESTEA in this legislature, I was informed that the FDC Unicore loan was a so-called soft loan. Soft loan. While I'm still trying to figure out what this so-called soft loan means in practice, on the ground, no manufacturing facility was ever established, and with the time that is lapsed, I'm sure that it is improbable that the FDC will ever get this 10 million that was invested year back. That money mysteriously disappeared, and that's one thing the ANC are good at, and that is making money mysteriously disappear. Perhaps now that the former MEC, who is now Premier, and the former chair of the committee in which I previously raised this issue, and is now DESTEA MEC, would like to follow this up and see if they can retrieve this money that mysteriously disappeared. If the people of this district still believe that the ANC can deliver them or their children jobs or anything else except poverty and deprivation, then you are victims of your own electoral choices. Voters should know by now that the day after the elections, the food parcels disappear like the 10 million rand, along with all those empty promises, the 300 jobs, etc. They all disappear after the election. And then you sit for another 5 years in poverty and desperation. The ANC will never deliver the jobs, especially under an ANC government in the Free State. In this respect, it's important, Honorable Speaker, to note that in the last quarter of 2022, in South Africa, 169,000 new jobs were created. Of the 169,000 new jobs, a staggering 167,000 were created in the DESTEA-run Western Cape, and most of those jobs went to poor black people who were fleeing from other provinces into the Western Cape. Only 2,000 were created in all the other 8 provinces during that time. In Freedom Month, Honorable Speaker, we have to ask which party in government is delivering economic freedom in South Africa through jobs, and who brags about creating further dependency. Why do millions of unemployed people in 8 other provinces have to share 2,000 new jobs? The answer is simple: because the majority of them voted for the ANC. You see, in a democracy, you get what you vote for, and you deserve what you vote for. Speaker, with our resources and relatively small population, over 60% of our people in the Free State should not be living in poverty. The Department of DESTEA should set an example
Honourable
of
Jungelson,
sound
please pause.
business practices.
Please pause. I just want to establish if there is a point of order. Honorable MEC Mahlatsi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I just wanted to find out if Honorable Jackelson is willing to take a question.
Honorable Jungelson, are you willing to take that question?
Honorable Speaker, I don't have the time to take a question, and I didn't bring my crayons along so that I can answer that question. Honorable Speaker,
Honorable Jungelson, I needed a yes or no, not further comments.
I thought you deduce that's a no, Honorable Speaker, but no.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Proceed.
Honorable Speaker, sadly, the Auditor General's report for this department, published in their 2021-2022 annual report, indicates that the department incurred irregular expenditure of 3.7 million rand and fruitless and wasteful expenditure of 439,000 rand due to payments made to service providers for goods and services that were not rendered. There is also no evidence of any disciplinary steps taken against officials who were responsible for this irregular expenditure. Furthermore, many assets of the department belonging to the people of the Free State were not safeguarded as required by Treasury regulations. The Auditor General's qualified audit opinion was based on the following statement, and I quote, "Management did not prepare regular, accurate, and complete financial reports that are supported by evidence and reliable information," close quote. The Free State Development Corporation, that falls under this department, had an even more devastating Auditor General report with irregular expenditure of a staggering 19.2 million rand due to non-compliance with supply chain requirements and fruitless and wasteful expenditure of 46 million rand, mainly due to interest payments and overdue accounts. Honorable Speaker, the Auditor General said this entity failed dismally in its vision to be the leading catalyst for economic growth and development in the Free State Province, and a mission to facilitate and promote investments, provide financial and non-financial services to SMMEs, continue with radical economic transformation, and develop and manage properties and businesses also failed dismally. Its intentions to improve economic growth, create sustainable jobs, and increase private sector investments have failed because of the transactions of, among others, the Unicorn projects, and there are many others besides that. Honorable Speaker, the manufacturing sector in the Free State is greatly underutilized. We have various factories in places like Tabanshu, Botshabelo, and Kwakwa that have become redundant. These areas also have the largest concentrations of unemployed people in the province. This infrastructure, along with the Pakisa racetrack, should be privatized so that the private sector can revive and reignite these economies. Let us rather use our provincial funds to fix our roads infrastructure and services so that investors can transport goods and services in and out of the province and at the same time create jobs for our people. Capitalism 101. Honorable Speaker, institutions and entities in the Free State that are responsible for both tourism and the promotion of the province as an investment destination must be restructured and streamlined towards this common purpose. For this reason, as also mentioned by Honorable Van Vieren in his budget debate at Garib, or in the legislature after Garib, we need in the Free State a Free State Economic Development Agency, FSEDA. Such an agency will cut red tape for investors and merge national and international investment initiatives and promotion in trade, investment, and tourism into a single entity. The FSEDA will have a small staff component with support from the provincial government through a process of incentivized targets linked to timeframes in terms of investment and job creation in the province. International precedent shows that economic development strategies are best implemented by an agency and people who have real business expertise. Speaker, the Maluti-Apofung Special Economic Zone is struggling along with a collapsed municipality. In this respect, we must remember that the zone is only part of the equation that attracts investors. The investors and their staff require basic services such as water and electricity, as well as access to schools, hospitals, modern retail stores, entertainment, and various other amenities and facilities.
Is it okay?
We've just heard this week, which my colleagues from the right didn't mention, that another factory has closed there. 82 jobs have been shed in that special economic zone. The Maluti-Apofung municipality and even Machobeng, that has huge economic growth potential with its growing gas industry, like other municipalities in the Free State, suffer under the same burdens of the disintegration of basic services and infrastructure that are characteristics of ANC-run municipalities across the Free State and the country. Economic development takes place in municipalities. We can talk about it at provincial level, but at the end of the day, the tires hit the tar within a municipality. And if a municipality...
Okay. Good afternoon, Amisi.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you so much. We were listening to your speech. It's your maiden speech, is it? Yes, as MEC of the Department of Social Development in the Free State. Thank you so much. My name is Tiriso Tinane, and welcome to FS Online.
Thank you very much.
Thank
sir,
you so
for
much.
inviting me.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much. We are not going to be long with you. We understand that you are tired and you have to maybe perhaps go eat. We are hoping that we are eating as well. Let me say, with regards to your speech today, we know that Department of Social Development operate within the social sector. And I love the interface that today we have both the economic and the social sector in one hall, which are complementary functions, if I may put it like that. Let's start first with the gender-based violence. You said a lot about the gender-based violence. We saw the centers that are opened. And I think you said that you covered the province now. You have the centers in all the districts of the Free State. Would you please expand more, particularly with regards to the role that you as a department is actually playing to support the victims of gender-based violence?
Thank you very much once again, Ntate. Let me just indicate that the role and the support that we are providing to our victims with regard to gender-based violence, like I had indicated or presented my budget speech this morning, I indicated that we have established 5 centers within the province, which means we have covered the 5 districts within the province, but it means that is not enough. It means once we have received our clients that are being affected with regard to gender-based violence, it is our core mandate to ensure that we provide them with psychosocial support and working hand in hand, of course, with the police, including our social workers. If needs be, we even refer them to your nearby clinics or hospitals should they be affected, maybe health-wise, because some of them, we find that they are also being beaten by their partners. It means Department of Health, Department of Police, including the social workers, making sure that they are safe at the end of the day. But we don't conclude there. After the psychosocial support that we are given to them, we make sure that if they are ready, like I had presented this morning, that there was one client of us who is staying here in Kroonstad who had been abused for the whole 16 years of her marriage, who was being abused by her husband in front of her kids. The woman was not fit enough to can go and report that matter to the police because mentally she was not stable. But we ensured that at the end of the day, after giving her the psychosocial support, she was then able to can confront the court of laws where she had instituted and filed the divorce. She's a free woman. She's here with us today. Like I'm saying, we make sure that at the end of the day they are able to can stand for themselves.
Beautiful. And just to augment on what you said with regards to the emotional, support that we're providing to the victims of gender-based violence, because it goes way beyond just gender-based violence. There's femicide as well. We've seen a couple of cases, and the most unfortunate part also is that there are cases that are not reported. And the estate department, you are now trapped in a space where you have to consider both cases that are reported to you that you know about and those that are not reported, even to the law enforcement agencies. So with regards to the capacity that we are building, to support women that are victims of gender-based violence and femicide, do you have maybe as a department plans to add more centers in the future?
It is our prerogative and also our mandate to ensure that we increase the number of the centers. Remember, Free State is a rural province. We are not talking only about the bigger towns. We are also having women, children that are coming from rural areas.
Yeah, you mentioned that in your speech.
Whom we must also accommodate. Now, as the department, we must make sure that they are also incorporated in our centers. Now, the challenge that we had previously, Department of Public Works had not yet identified the buildings, but currently, as we speak, the audit had been done, had been completed. It means you are looking forward to increase the number of the centers within the province.
Beautiful. Just to check on the centers, is it only your centers that you build as a department, or are you also working with the non-profit organizations that are doing the same function?
Yes, we are not working in silos as the Department of Social Development. We are also working with the NPOs, making sure that they assist us. Like I had indicated earlier on, that all these issues that we are confronted with, they are societal issues. It means all the relevant stakeholders must also form part. And remember, when you talk about the victim support centers, we don't consider women only. Even men. We have men who are also abused. We have boys who are also abused. And like we had indicated earlier on, that there are other cases that are not being reported to us, that we are not quite aware of. But let me just indicate to you that yesterday we embarked on a outreach program, and it yielded positive results, because the more we get closer to the people, the more we get closer and give them all the necessary services, they are able to can open up. Even yesterday, some of them did open up to our social workers, to police, complaints were lodged to subs. Cases were opened even yesterday by mere going to our people. Because if we don't go to them, we will not even realize that there are other cases that are not being reported. But only by virtue of making contact with them one on one, they come forward and lay
They're able to
all
open
the
up,
complaints that they are having.
Beautiful, beautiful. Lastly, on the gender-based violence, I hope my colleagues are not going to think that I'm obsessed with gender-based violence. We
No,
know
it's
that
because it's a sketch.
it's a sketch. Yeah, no, that's true. Actually, that is exactly what I was coming to, because I think there was a report that was released by United Nations Human Rights Commission regarding the state of gender-based violence in the whole of the continent. Apparently, it's becoming now a pandemic, in the whole of the continent. Just wants to check with you, in terms of your institutional capacity as the department, are you winning on gender-based violence? Are you seeing progress?
Definitely, we
Yeah.
are getting there. Like I had indicated that we had partnered with various stakeholders,
Yeah.
even tertiary institutions. We have partnered with the traditional leaders. We have partnered with the NPOs, like I had indicated. We had partnered with ministers fraternal, of course, coming from different religions. Your Islams, like, and also the traditional healers, not the traditional leaders now, the
Yes.
traditional
Healers,
healers.
yeah.
We had partnered with them within the province, including the schools,
Yeah.
because even gender-based violence doesn't happen only
At home,
at
yeah.
home. Even at
Yes.
schools, we are still confronted with such issues, and we have also partnered with safe sitters, different sitters. They
Yeah.
are going to assist us with safety officers, and remember, if they give us the safety officers, we are not going to spend anything from our side as
the
the
department,
Department
yeah.
of Social Development, ensuring that the safety officers, we go and incorporate them in various schools within our province, so that they can monitor the process or the happenings within the schools on daily basis.
Beautiful. Because I think it was yesterday, the premier of the KZN was speaking, and then they said in their province they have about 26,000 pregnancies of girls between the ages of 10. And I think our national broadcaster also reported on that, to say in the Free State, I think was seated at about 13,000 or so.
It's a fact that we are also challenged as the
Yeah.
province. Like I had indicated that we had partnered with different stakeholders. One can set an example. Last month, we attended an cultural event in Qwaqwa, where Marena, the kings and the queens, had called all these young girls. They called their program in Doni,
Yeah.
where they teach these youngsters about the values, where they are coming from, their tradition and the culture. Even sometime in September, we'll be launching another program. We call it Chomi and Yolo. We are going to launch it in Fixburg to make sure that we go down to these young kids. And I have presented my budget speech indicating that it is the responsibility again of these young women and boys, our kids. We must involve them. We must not put them aside
That's right, yeah.
and take decisions on their behalf and develop programs on their behalf. They themselves must develop their own programs.
programs, yeah.
They must tell us what we must do in ensuring that we support them, because you cannot run in front of the kids. Our kids are very smart. Our kids are very intelligent. Our kids have brains. From where I'm coming from, remember, I'm a teacher by profession.
Yeah, true.
I had worked with kids, and our kids have capacity to can say to us what exactly do they want. And at the end of the day, we'll win this battle only if we pull these young people and make sure that they are the ones who are running in front of us, not us in front of them.
Yeah,
Then I
definitely.
believe that we can attend to the issue.
No,
of
definitely, because we
international
come from the
events.
school of thought that said nothing for us without us.
Yes.
We need to be involved. Let's switch gears a bit, MEC, and move to the economic part within. We know you're operating within the social sector, but you do have that element of economic development, if I may put it like that. Let's look at the role of the National Development Agency. We have it. We are impressed with the work of the NDA in the province. We know a lot of our people do not really know that the mandate of the NDA, and also that it actually reports to you. You are governing it. Is the mandate of the NDA solely on national, or you have some sort of an influence with regards to the programs that they are implementing in the province?
No, we also have a word. We are working hand in hand with the National Development Agency.
Yeah.
They don't just come to our province and take decisions
Yeah.
without consulting us. It's a collaborative effort
Yeah.
that we are making that we are undergoing with NDA.
Yeah.
Even yesterday, during our outreach program, we are together with the NDA.
Yeah.
And even when they come and give support, they assist us in establishing the NPOs,
Yes.
making sure that they monitor, they give all the necessary
Necessary
support,
support,
and ensure that they also give them all the necessary equipment that they required at the end of the day. And where there are challenges, they will come back to us as the department and will sit down together and reflect on the weaknesses that they had identified during the course of supporting these NGOs within the province. And we are very much excited that they are here at all times giving support to our NGOs.
That's beautiful, because I know the former minister actually changed their mandate from focusing only on the social sector. I think they call them civil society organizations, the CSOs.
Yes.
And then we have seen a couple of projects they implemented in the Free State supporting, I know there are a couple of cooperatives that were supported by NDA. So mention that with the interface, particularly on the side of the economic sector, our youth unemployment, particularly in the Free State, is sky high. We know that.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
And the NDA is assisting the NPOs not for compliance, like I had indicated earlier on. They assist them in ensuring that the programs that they are developing are developmental programs that will make them to be able to can face all the challenges around economic issues, ensuring that they create jobs within the province. Even yesterday, we went to one of the disability centers. Don't put aside the disability centers, because you are also having youth that is disabled, and where the NDA is also supporting them in ensuring that they create sustainable jobs at the end of the day within the province. Now, the very same NDA, they are assisting our NPOs, including the CNDCs. We are also having CNDCs. The CNDCs, they call them the soup kitchens. But that is not the core mandate of the CNDCs. The core mandate of the soup kitchen of the CNDCs is to explicitly say that here are the beneficiaries that are getting food every day. But what then do you do? You can't. What do you do with them at the end of the day? Because you can't keep on giving someone fish to eat, but you must teach them how to catch the fish. Now, the mandate of the NDA using the CNDCs, including the MPOs, they make sure that they establish their cooperatives that are sustainable, including the NPOs that are sustainable. To set an example, we have a young guy in Virginia who is now having his own pizza, kasi pizza. We call it kasi pizza. Where at the end of the day, he's selling his own pizza, and they are also they had also given him the motorbikes to can transport his pizzas on daily basis. We are also having young women in Mangawu who are also selling their own detergents. We are also having young people in Kopis who are specializing in farming. And this is the role of the NDA within the province, ensuring that we minimize the catch-off rate of unemployment.
Yes. No, beautiful, because I know for a long time you partnered with ILO a couple of years ago, to support social enterprises. And the part of the mandate was actually to support, the social sector businesses to be commercial, and which is really beautiful. We have seen your work. In closing, MEC, let's look into the issue. You spoke a lot about poverty alleviation, and I know your passion with regards to seeing people eating. Would you please, maybe in just a couple of seconds, just give us maybe your aspiration with regards to fighting poverty in the province?
Number one, my brother, like yesterday when we were having an outreach program,
Yes.
we communicated with our constituencies that for poverty alleviations, for us to alleviate poverty, we have our own hands.
Yes.
And we're having an NGO by the name of Engo. They were showing them the mechanisms of how to plant their own vegetable gardens, even if there is no soil in your yard, even if your yard is being cemented. They were coming with different mechanisms on showing them how to
grow their own
to
food.
plant their own vegetables. Poverty alleviations, it's us who can confront it.
Yes.
And I was also indicating to them that we, even with the 350 grant that we are earning, we can still come up with mechanisms and ensure that out of the very same 350 grant, you maybe you establish your own company with the little money that you are earning.
Definitely, it's capital.
Yes,
Yeah.
with the little money that you are earning, you can make sure that you establish your own company.
Yes.
Now we have spoken with the municipalities that give your own LED strategy, because without LED strategy and the mission, using the district development model, of course, without your LED strategy and the mission of your municipality, you won't be able to can alleviate poverty, because the challenges of Makaka municipality against or versus the challenges of Machabeng municipality are totally different.
That's true.
Now, if we want to alleviate poverty, you must then say what kind of opportunities are in this municipality. For an example, Mokaga specializes in agriculture. Then we say, with agriculture sector in this area and tourism, of course, let us establish the cooperatives from our side, because it is our mandate as social development. Then let's establish cooperatives around agriculture within this particular municipality, because they vary according to their job opportunities within their areas.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you so much, MEC. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for your time and your team. I really appreciate it.
Beautiful. Thank you so
And we are
much.
looking forward to work with everyone, especially around gender-based violence. Drug and substance abuse is a challenge, the entire country, and we are calling upon everyone to go out and make sure that we confront this demon that we are confronted with as a society.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, MEC.
Thank you.
Fact needed in the private sector. The fact that our people are only left with government for business opportunities must change with immediate effect, because 90% of the provincial GDP takes place in the private sector. And we appreciate the efforts, Honorable Meko, of facilitating production capacity of the province by increasing number of participants, specifically in the production sector. And the partnership between the provincial government of the Free State, led by the Premier and various sitters, is very much welcomed, and it will support and come very handy on your journey, Honorable MEC, because the ANC in its resolution on the skills for economy correctly states that interventions to boost the skills must be based on the principles of lifelong learning and keeping pace with technological advances, and must respond adequately
to ongoing changes in work, production, and industries. And the most important part is that the same skills program must be integrated in the developmental agenda and the needs of the economy. And the access to funding, we welcome the partnership you'll have with NEF, because the issue of funding has been the serious barrier for our people. And we further welcome the issue of enterprise support, because the support for businesses goes beyond just a workshop or a training, but it must be a continuous program which also has some expertise that are needed for the businesses of our people. And the digital hub in Botshabelo, right in the township, which is meant to assist our businesses, is one example of the commitment of your department, Honorable Member, and the ANC government to ensure that we bring the necessary facilities for connectivity and connecting with the world. And the fact that the hub has already produced our own Take a Lot, or this online commerce owned by young black people, it's a demonstration that is bearing the fruits. Honorable Speaker, this is an opportunity and a moment for South Africa as a democratic state to create our economy, as the President of the country has said in the preamble of the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan document, where he says, we're determined not merely to return our economy to where it was before coronavirus, but to forge a new economy in a global reality. And this envisaged vision is indeed justified, because correctly so, the ANC in its conference resolution, the 55th conference resolution on the economic transformation, characterized the economy of South Africa that South Africa has inherited the economy with entrenched features of structural fragmentation and inequality resulting in colonial and apartheid periods. Therefore, the ANC is in support of this budget vote, as it reaffirms the commitment of the Congress of the People that the people shall share in the country's wealth, which seeks to ensure that, among others, all the industry and trade shall be controlled to assist the well-being of the people so that they can enjoy the true freedom. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. The Honorable MEC Meko may now reply to the debate.
Speaker, thank you very much. When I'm far away and my 5-year-old daughter, load shedding, especially Anna Kopana Leona for the first time, she says to me, Daddy, there's a problem. Wait a long. No, I want the lights. I don't know why. I don't know, Daddy, there's no energy. 5-year-old. The doctor does not understand an apple and a fruit. And the doctor wishes that he has taught me. I'm a graduate of a BCom degree in economics, not at yours, in a university in Gauteng. There's nothing wrong with yours. The problem is a doctor who can't undertake basic distinctions that my 5-year-old can. And our people must take you serious. And you tell them, or vote DA will bring you solutions, you think that they are going to take you serious. For a record, there are many educated people here. I've got about 8 doctors in the Department of DESTEA or so, and they advise me properly. I don't know what you have produced here. They must tell us. Honorable Kluti, re tlohelle ka Marx ka Freedom Charter ka Mandela. Ha o bina ka Tilarey ha ona motho a buang. He is your hero. Stay with him. We have our own heroes. and we will embrace them forever. Karl Marx was a doctor like you. It is appreciated the global world all over because of his thinking. We're embracing his ability that or as a philosopher, he appreciated interpret life. But then he brought about a clarity of thought. Every today from 18 something to help us resolve complex issues of the economy. He's the same as Kwame Nkrumah, same way as Mandela, same way as Chris Hani. We embrace their ability to diagnose properly our problems and the production of thinking that is scientific on a thumbs up. That's why we're embracing them. And that's why we will forever borrow from them. Because they exhibited an extraordinary type of thinking. And it doesn't say the world will not produce such today. And there are still many which we appreciate. Thanks, Honorable Makalo, to deal with the issue of the energy crisis. We did touch on it, including the issue of corruption. The ANC is on record. Harea rumela motu ayeka ramuso aluzo chelete ya muso. ANC resolution. It's our DNA. Except that, hamuto uzo chelete as a chama. The rule of law must take its course. We're not going to be populist and say, hey, who to is Harry? Nalemolao South Africa. And we chose a constitutional democracy. The ANC doesn't hate the private sector. That's why we spoke about, the core for our speech was as well investment over and above the approach which we want to emphasize the value chain. From the private sector, from national and international. It is our analysis. Our tools to create and we did make here the context. The context is that the South African character, constitutional democracy character in our area, we are a mixed economy. We appreciate the role of the private sector, and government has got to regulate. We did say in the process, government will also undertake certain projects to intervene, to be able to come closer to attending to immediate challenges. And that's why we said, let charity begins as home. 1994 up until now, government have been doing interventions. Can't apply the same mechanism to the same problem. You only yield a different result. We said, let's think differently. Concept here, it's not a new discovery. But let's overemphasize, let's deepen it. Or a government, how to more? Ha MEC, Mahlati Alo, Askolo, Kofi Jones Kuro. We must ask a question, an economic question. Sitina se u di festeretse u dira kakai. Can't we take a decision as a department and help those? All of these implements. There's nothing wrong. We're not contradicting any law. We're saying that investment in the years, they were standalone. They were not interrelated or interlinking. And as a result, but are never dependent on the market. And the market is ruthless and is not friendly, especially for such interventions. For the past 3 years, the department has achieved, and by the way, Speaker, to lie in the sitting of the legislature is unparliamentary. For the past 3 years, we had a qualified audit report. The 2 years of that 3, we had only one paragraph. And it was on the basis of the prepayments of enterprise. And I said to the team of the department, it's a good problem. Let's deal with it in terms of our own supply chain requirements and internal controls. But we can never say, AG, retla stopa ya over to the SMME in the context of our program enterprise development. What type of government will we be? We exist for the people, to help our people, especially in the space, say, economy, very complex and difficult. And that's why it's important issues of support. We've announced about a 5-year program, a 500 million training to teach our people. Otherwise, if you say it's into the new entrance, I don't understand why you are excited to embrace capitalism. Essentially, our struggle against apartheid was also the struggle against the brutality of a system called capitalism, which prioritizes profit over the social welfare of the people. You come here and you are proud to have been elected and you say, I don't care. These people can be exploited for as long as these organizations which I represent in parliament buys a profit. That's what you are saying to our people, and you think they are stupid, go vote DA. You said that. And you said capitalism 101. I'm glad you didn't teach me. Let me tell you what political economy has taught me. I was fortunate when I was doing economy. I met intellectuals who believed in political economy. Equal distribution of economic resources to all the people. You can't wish that people must starve and be denied access to all these important economic commodities that must sustain their life. And you stand there proud to, yeah, we don't want to know about capitalist 101. We are engaging, by the way, for your information, all the business people. And say, remember you are a business person in South Africa, not anywhere else. We have a particular history in this province. And it is from that history where people were systematically excluded from both participation and as well as benefiting from the economy. Help us. We recognize your role. We don't hate you. We don't have a problem as you hate the poor. And we'll continue to engage them. And that's why our speech also was very emphatic around the issue of investment. And lastly, we said we've engaged Machabe, we've engaged Mukaka yesterday. We're continuously going to engage municipalities, play a role, help us to activate the economics in your areas. It's not a new discovery that we're not. That's why part of our mechanism is that we are going to help them to draw their local economic incentives policy consistent with the province and that of national. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. The reply by the Honorable MEC concludes the debates on Vote 3, Economic, Small Business Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs. Honorable members, that brings us to the end of the business of the House today. But before the House adjourns, I wish to make the following announcements: that honorable members and guests should remain in their seats at their allocated seats as their sergeant at arms and the Honorable Speaker and the Secretary leaves the House. That the guests should remain at their allocated seats while honorable members leave the House. That all guests are invited for lunch. And now the House shall adjourn until Wednesday, the 3rd of May, 2023, at 10 o'clock at Lirila Tuto Secondary School, Zastron. And the business of the House shall include the consideration of the following budget votes. Vote 9, Public Works and Infrastructure, and Vote 10, Community Safety, Roads and Transport. This House is adjourned. Thank you, honorable members.
Jam. Good to see you. Thank you. Right? Sure. Bon.
Home ground njani?
Ngwana mme ke tla re. Ba re qala hae.
Okay.
Start here.
Mphe speech Vic. Speech.
Mo jwang. Ba ise di sa mona mo di